wearing a shirt that says 3-2-1 every Saturday.
3-2-1 teenage sex doll. What?
Don't think I didn't already talk about that in the Zoom room. So if any of them are here,
man.
They already know.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Oh my goodness.
You say
gracious.
that, but it's really quite disturbing.
I don't know. I mean, like, yeah, I don't know if I could look at that and say, wow, that's hilarious. I would look at that and be like, what? That guy's driving my kids around.
I had to take a minute to do the zoom in and really take in the whole situation. And then I was like, okay, I need eye bleach and I don't ever want to have to look at that again.
Yeah, I don't blame you at all. Oh my gosh. There's this one story here I'm thinking about covering. I might throw it in here in the chum bucket just to be.
There's Roger Rabbit. What's up, Roger?
But, oh man, I don't know. Is it just me? Like when people do that stuff, like, what's up, Roger? I'm like, well, come on now.
I'm sorry.
I mean, like, I don't know.
Don't culturally appropriate your enthusiasm, Bryan.
Oh man,
that's cultural appropriation. I didn't. What culture am I appropriating?
Fool. It's like that. You're culturally Oh, my light isn't on. That's why. You're culturally appropriating.
Is that like when I go into Rocky Stucci's chats and I'm like, sup, Rocky?
Yeah, you're. Oh my goodness. Hey, hold on just a second. Everybody shut up. You know why? We should be live right now. Welcome to the breakdown, everybody. This is Aaron Barker broadcasting from an undisclosed location deep behind enemy lines, asking the questions that get you kicked out of Bible study and sent to therapy. Thank you all so very much for the opportunity to be in your vehicle, office, residence, warehouse, farmhouse, henhouse, outhouse, or doghouse, wherever it is you may be listening to the program today, which you can watch on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, I think. We're all over the place. You can join us over on those streaming areas. You can also listen to us on the Mojo stream as well. Just go to mojo.com and mojo50.com and click on the listen live. You can get over there. Now, unfortunately, we are not on over at the Crusade channel today. The reason they're out of town right now at a conference. So pretty much everybody's there with them, or the majority of folks are there with them as they are doing that conference as well. And they are, unfortunately, we're not over there. But if you are a typical listener of that, you are welcome to head on right on over to Mojo or YouTube or any of those wonderful pages to watch and listen to the show today. We got several stories we're going to get to, several things we're going to talk about. We've got, a ghostly Uber driver that was a passenger. We're going to talk about the Jordan Neely case as well. Was he murdered? And the whole situation going down with that. And labor investigation finds hundreds of teens working illegally in this particular state. We'll hit that as well. And as always, my wonderful co-hosts are joining me right now. We have with us Miss Information herself, Erica Sauer. Good morning.
Good morning.
And then the bearded pastor, Bryan Jackson. Good morning, Bryan.
Good morning.
So not without technical difficulties, just a little snafu there at the beginning of the show. But things will be just fine as we roll on here. I know it for sure. You can also be a part of the show as well if you just simply follow the instructions down below. If you're watching, go to breakdradio.com, click on the mic in the bottom right-hand corner, and this will allow you to sign in. This will allow you to leave your sound off. We will then play it on the program and make you famous, because that's what you want. We're going to let you borrow from our 15 minutes of fame. And that 15 minutes of fame is going to be lent to you. And you can do it in small sections as well, like 15 seconds here, 3 minutes there. So it's all, you can borrow all that. We're perfectly fine with lending that to you. The first thing we're going to jump onto today, as we dig into the chum bucket, which is teeming this week of chock full of great stories, we're going to head on over to Indiana, Erica's home state. where a councilman is getting himself in a little bit of trouble, and the councilman is really only recognizing his true self.
Uh-oh.
Find it a smidge offensive, I guess you could say. It's a Republican councilman is going viral on Facebook, and here's exactly why. Let's go ahead and pull this video up for you if we can get it to agree.
This is amazing.
This is like this is professional level.
It is
master level trolling that we are
right?
about to witness.
Yeah.
And you know what's absolutely hilarious about this, Aaron? Is that the right is doing it this time and the left is losing their ever-loving mind.
It's funny stuff. And I believe that's the biggest problem with a lot of this stuff. They are like with the trolling. I mean, obviously, as you'll see as soon as the video loads here, obviously the guy is trolling, but it
Right.
doesn't matter. It's like, what was that guy's name? Alex Stein, who was actually, complimenting what was Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, saying that she was attractive and he liked her Latin booty. I think that's what he said. And she got all offended over it. And I'm like, why are you getting all offended over that? And then she tried to have him arrested and all that stuff. But he was just master level trolling for these people.
I'm sorry.
Right.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is, I mean, she might be attractive, but she is dangerous.
I like how Brian changed that. She's like, she might be attractive, but she's dangerous.
I think she has a horse
extremely
face.
dangerous.
Why do you say she's dangerous?
Because she's a lot smarter than people give her credit for. And she is hang on. I used to think that she was
Brian's trolling us. This is master level trolling.
I used to think that she was really stupid. But if you listen to some of the things she says, it's very strategic the way that she says what she says, and she is speaking to the masses. Now, from a political point of view,
agenda.
Well, from a political point of view, she's ignorant.
Yeah.
But from a inciting point of view, where she's trying to incite or rile up her base, she's very intelligent.
She's just a useful idiot. I don't even think she's
that
smart
that's
about
what I mean. That's exactly
rallying up the base.
Yeah.
Someone's telling her what to say. You're going to say this. You're going to do this. You're going to do this, and she's good at that part. I mean, you're not an extremely smart economist from Boston University working at a freaking bar. Give me a break.
Well,
it doesn't work that way.
There's that.
Maybe in her the area in which she traffics, as far as her side of the aisle, she sounds intelligent to them because she's speaking their lingo, she's speaking their language. But when you look at it from an outsider, and then they're talking about socialism, etc., it's those kind of things that we're like, hold on just a second, you're not sounding intelligent because this is not an intelligent thing to say. So I mean, I can see what you're saying, Brian, as far as her sounding like that. But for some reason, my computer is not allowing me to pull up this.
Send me the link. I'll see if I can pull it up.
I am. There we go. I'm trying to pull this up here, but it's a Republican councilman who's reportedly threatened with execution after he came out identifying as a lesbian woman of color. And his name is Ryan Webb. He's a Delaware County councilman, and he's just simply saying he wants to express himself. He says it's unfortunate that I cannot simply be given the same space and respect to explore my identity.
Yeah.
So that so many of those targeting me demand for themselves.
And isn't the color Native American? So he's coming out as a Native American lesbian.
I thought
trans lesbian, I think.
Okay, is that what it is? I thought it was an Asian Indian is what it was coming out as.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe there's even that too, but I thought it was a Native American trans lesbian. So it's a Native American man who dresses as a woman but likes women. So it's a dude who dresses as a woman. Like it's expert level trolling, and they lost their minds.
It is.
Lost
They
their
did
minds.
lose their minds. It was pretty funny as he moved through that. And you know what? We don't even need the news story. We just covered it ourselves, so we don't even need the video on that. So there we go. Pro level trolling from a guy that's simply wanting to, just wanting to express. And what you do with these situations, you illustrate absurdity. It's called illustrating absurdity. That was coined by Rush Limbaugh, where you just take things to their logical or their illogical conclusion that they have.
Who's the British guy? The British
Piers Morgan?
Huh?
Piers Morgan?
Yeah, Piers Morgan. He made the exact same comment. He was talking to two feminists on his show.
I saw that.
And he made the exact same comment. He says, "Why can't I come out as a African American or as a black lesbian?"
He
and
said
they laughed
something
at him on the
very
air.
ridiculous. Yeah.
They laughed at it, and he's like, "Why?" He says, "Anybody can identify as anything.
Yeah.
Why can't?" And so this guy just kind of picked up on what he said and was running with it. And here's the thing, in a world where, I'm sorry, we've already had at least 3 different people that we know about who have taken on the African American persona and have been proven lily white. Okay. What's the lady's name?
Rachel Dolezal.
Rachel Dolezal.
Yeah.
Right. How long did she portray herself as African American?
Yeah, she was like the president of the NAACP.
There's a brand new one of those.
NAACP.
There's a brand new one of those. Oh, I don't have it ready, so I shouldn't even mention it. But there's a guy who was claiming to be black who's running the national diversity something or other, and he's not black.
That's
at all in any way, but was claiming to be. I'm not saying a person has to be black in order to run that organization, but this person was claiming to and is not. And I don't have that.
Well, Rachel Dolezal actually did that. She claimed that she was black
with her white
and people didn't know it.
Oh God, tanning beds can do amazing things, I guess.
And here's the thing. This is where you have an issue where you focus on identity politics and then tell nobody that nobody can be wrong.
Yes, and now that is identity politics. Now this other story here, this I'm kind of torn on this one as as far as the situation. So a young man was Arlington, Virginia, an 8th grader was he goes to Arlington Public Schools. That's your first problem. And on Tuesday they announced they said a notice of claim and demand after they say he was forced to play a cotton picking game. Now I'm not talking about how we know the term cotton. Do you know the term cotton picking, Erica? Do they use that up in?
Well, yeah, I know it from my mom being from Louisiana. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, so growing up, it's that cotton picking dog next door, them cotton picking neighbors. All those people,
right?
Use that term like that. Well, this isn't saying that silly or stupid game. This is actually a game of picking up cotton balls. In a class earlier this year, a family is suing the Arlington Public School District for $10 million because their son was forced. They say he was forced to play this game, a cotton picking game, where he had to get down on his hands and knees and pick up cotton balls with his face, like with his mouth. Here's the news conference that they did with this particular family here.
Now, before you play the video, I'm going to ask: is he black?
Been following since February. The family of an Arlington 8th grader who they say was forced to play a cotton picking game in class is now demanding $10 million from the district. 7 News' Christian Flores was the first to cover the story, and he spoke to the family again tonight. They explain why this goes beyond money.
It's a good shot.
Sydney Rousey's family wants to send a message loud and clear. In February, Rousey told 7 News he, the only black student in his French class at Gunston Middle School, was pressured to play a game requiring him to pick cotton with his face. His family seeking a $10 million settlement from Arlington Public Schools because they say the school's response has enabled other students to bully him, causing emotional distress.
There have been sort of escalating bullying attacks on Sydney. He has suffered tremendously throughout this process.
He has feelings. No one knows what he holds on to when he goes to sleep.
The school district says it has removed the game from Gunston's list of team-building activities. But Rousey's family claims his academic experience has also suffered.
They have never apologized. They have isolated him, allowed him to be ostracized. They put him in for 51 minutes, they put him in a separate area in a library by himself to learn French.
A spokesperson for the school district said they cannot comment on the matter.
Words can't explain, because I'm definitely very frustrated. So something definitely needs to happen, and it needs to happen fast.
What does the situation look like? It's we're to a situation that you can't take back, that you can't fix. You tell me. It's not about the money. It's about what's right. It's about what you didn't do. It's about accountability.
If the school district does not respond within 30 days, Rousey's family plans to officially file a lawsuit in Arlington. Christian.
So there you go. That story there.
It's
now that
not
was
about the money, but we're going to cash the check.
I mean, if you need $10 million worth of therapy to fix the fact that you had to play a game. I mean, were you the only one that had to play? Were you the only black kid that had to play? Were only black kids playing? So many questions I have here. And you know what happens when you need to go to the foreign language learning lab in the library to learn a foreign language? You put on headphones and there's little cubicles and you sit there by yourself.
My daughter, actually, she was homeschooled. We homeschooled her for all the way up until her junior year. And she was and I'm not just saying this, but she was beyond, she was like a year ahead of everybody else in the history class. So they told her, it's like, hey, during this class, so we don't want to hold you back or prevent you from learning. So you're going to go here to this room and you're going to study this curriculum for the next, for an hour, however long the block was, the class.
Yeah, it's roughly 50 minutes, by the way.
What's that?
Yeah,
it's roughly 51 minutes,
okay,
which is exactly how long he was in there. One class period. So now, I'm like, I can't even with this.
Well, the thing that the optic of this, first off, he's the only black kid that's in their class, that's in their French class. And he was forced. I mean, you're teaching French. Odds are you're not from France. Even if you were, with the amount of information that's out there today, you probably know a game about picking cotton, a black student. Don't do it. Just don't do it. I mean, the optic looks horrible.
Aaron, there are schools in North Carolina that take children from predominantly African American communities to cotton plantations for field trips, and they get to go out in the field and pick cotton.
Okay.
And they don't even get to bring it home with them. They have to turn it in. So they get a little bag. They learn how all the cotton's made. They get a little bag.
That is a bad optic. Like, hey, everybody, we're going to take your kids to a cotton picking field. Like, we're going to go cotton picking for the day.
Aaron, I don't want to disagree with you, Aaron. I mean, it's a bad. So to me, this is one of those things where perception is reality, right? If you're going to get ticked off and you're going to get offended by the fact of people picking cotton, regardless of your race or your gender, right? I don't. So what?
Well,
if black people used to pick cotton, guess what? There were also other nationalities that were put into the cotton fields to pick cotton as well.
But they were predominantly black from the South.
And I don't have a problem.
They were predominantly black from the South. That's like saying, well, I'm white and somebody has gotten onto me about my race before. Yeah, it's not the same. It's not the same.
Well, and that isn't the issue. I don't mind that you take the African American kids to the cotton plantation for part of the field trip to learn how cotton is made. You're not going to deprive them of that experience, but we don't pick cotton anymore. So that isn't a thing. Exactly. Like, we use machinery to do that. So if they're going for a ride on the cotton gin, I'm down. But you should not have
I remember the first
picking cotton. We don't do that anymore.
I remember the first time I went down to Alabama. We went to Gulf Shores, and I was on my way down to Alabama, and I started to see these big, giant white bales of hay. What I thought was bales of hay, and I'm like, why is it so white? And I didn't realize that they had rolled up the cotton fields like they do, like the big circle bales of hay. And they just went out and just plowed them down and just rolled them up into big, and they take that whole big giant, bale, and they put it in the cotton gin, and they separate the cotton from the plant. I didn't know that. I thought it was the coolest looking thing I ever seen in my life.
Well, yeah, I mean, this isn't like how it's made. Where you
Right.
watch them how they make a pencil
Right.
or an eraser,
But
or
there is a
you see
certain
how they,
level of naivete on the teachers in this situation.
yeah.
Like, you had to
Isn't naivete a
who
French word too?
hello?
It is.
Yeah,
She's speaking French.
Pardon my French. Pick up them cotton balls.
No pun intended. But
No pun
you,
intended.
you have to you overlooked. Like, that was a really bad choice. How did you not see that that was gonna be a
So
problem?
if they had replaced the cotton balls with potatoes, would that have offended the Irish Americans?
I love
Potentially,
that,
or if they would have
Kathy.
gone out and had to pick like lettuce or peas, would they have offended the Hispanic students in the class? We don't
That
know.
would
Hey,
probably
whoa,
Problem
whoa,
is,
whoa.
the
Yeah.
problem is everybody gets offended at something nowadays, and everything that carries a price tag like this at $10 million. The best solution that you could do is take your kids out of public school. Just get them out of public.
Amen. Yep, preach,
Right.
brother.
Homeschool them, take them to co-ops, take them to your church, and let them take care of that.
Yeah,
Because
but then the
that's what it
parents
takes
who
so
aren't
long.
smart enough to talk the child through the event and help them on their own, who have to get a
Uh-oh.
lawyer and sue for 10 million, are going to be responsible for their education of their own children, and that isn't going to go well.
Did you see what Debbie just put in the remarks? She said, "What about picking watermelon?" Oh my gosh! As long
So,
as they didn't have fried
Wow,
chicken,
this
Hawaii,
Brian,
we're all
you
right.
didn't have to read that one out loud, you know.
oh,
I
man.
did have to read that one out loud because it's funny as I'll get out. And then Roger said something about, I guess, cotton-headed ninny muggins is now considered a racial epithet.
Yeah, that's the chat room is wild today. Head on over to YouTube if you want to join there, YouTube or Facebook. You can also jump in and leave your sound off by going to breakdradio.com, clicking on the mic, leaving your first sound off today. That would be fantastic. So here's another one. This guy, now, of course, everybody goes through life and they're like, hey, you're doing your job. Sometimes you're doing it and you're like, yeah, this is my job. I just do it for money so I can pay the bills. But what my passion is like Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. doing a live radio show and beyond. But this gentleman had a light, because some people will say, well, it's time for me to make a change. It's a bad boss, or I just want to move on. I want to make more money if I have to spend my time at work. This guy sneezed and blew his brain up.
Huh?
And then then he used that as a way to make his dreams come true. A man whose brain, quote, exploded after he sneezed, claims the near-death experience was actually a blessing in disguise because it inspired him to pursue his dreams. So that was how I came into this whole career, having a really random brain surgery. Sam Messina, the age of 26, told the news article Jam Press. So what happened was he was in his bed one morning and he sneezed, and his sneezing caused an aneurysm to burst. And so the blood vessel in his brain burst, and then he ended up also having a stroke. And he said that his brain pretty much exploded. The clot came out of his nostrils, and he said it caused him to have a stroke as well. He passed out and pretty much should have died. And so he ended up having a brain surgery for this. Well, after that, he decided that he was now going to pursue his dreams of becoming a videographer, and took on a completely different career path, and is now doing commercials and photo shoots and reels and things like that for large companies, like, helping Mark Wahlberg build his brand and things like that. I hope it doesn't take an aneurysm for this radio show to really, really take off. Like, don't make me
take one for the team, man. Take one for the team, brother.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Let me work up a sneeze. Let me tickle it. Where's the pepper?
Wow,
I need the pepper.
Don't do it on air.
Why not? I mean, could you imagine the views of that? It's like that one
We
guy.
go viral overnight. Yes.
You remember that one guy? They just did a movie about him. Where
Imagine the hashtag that Debbie would come up with for that one.
So you remember the one guy that was, he was a stalker of Bjork. And he locked himself in his apartment, and he was constructing a bomb to kill her because he was jealous that she had another boyfriend. And he sent the bomb to her over in Europe. He was here in the States, and then filmed himself killing himself. And so the police showed up days later to do like a wellness check, and they found the guy dead. And they also watched all the videos of him recording himself, and then also saw that he had sent a bomb to Bjork and were able to save her life so she didn't get killed. Wow. I say all that to say, why not film it, and put it on live if you're going to have an aneurysm.
Mike, you haven't been sending bombs to anyone,
do we
have
need
you?
to do a wellness check on you? Do I need to call the police and send them to your house? Or
people don't care enough for that. So here's this. Hold on. What else was I going to say? You know what? This, what was I going to say? I was going to say, oh yeah. You've seen those things though, those stories where people have like a traumatic brain injury and then they end up becoming like a savant, like a math whiz or an art whiz or something. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
I thought you were going to make a joke about the guy who was elected congressman after a severe brain injury.
he had the opposite effect.
Well, yeah, I did, but it's still funny as all get out.
Man, I don't know about funny. I don't think I can laugh at that guy, dude. I mean, I genuinely, when that guy's around,
That's abuse,
I feel bad
man.
for
That's
myself.
just abuse.
It is just
That's
like
all it is.
Biden with the elder abuse there. All right. Anybody care about the coronation of King Charles? No. Okay. Neither do I. So we'll move on.
No, moving on.
I giveth an ultra crap,
right?
But so thou dost understandeth.
All I'm going to say is the queen could move.
Effeth the kingeth.
The queen could move as many spaces as she wanted in any direction. The king can only move one space at a time, and he's kind of lame. That's a chess joke. Sorry.
I know it's a chess
joke. I got the joke.
It just wasn't funny. I go ahead and tell me it just wasn't funny. That was a tough room. All right. Move on.
Nerdy chess jokes over there. That's what that is. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So the coronation is going on, and evidently the queen really hated the whole situation that was going on with what's that chick's name and her grandson. You don't care either. Neither do I. All right, folks. What are some of the craziest items that were left in Uber rides? We'll find that out when we get back here from the break. Don't forget to head on over to breaktbradio.com. Leave your sound up as well. We'll see you on the other side.
Asking the questions that get you kicked out of Bible studies and sent to therapy.
You're listening to The Breakdown.
Hi, it's Doc Thompson for Matthew 25 Ministries. Matthew 25 Ministries is one of the few charities I'll actually endorse because I know them. I've worked with them, and I know almost all of the money that you donate goes to help people. Go to m25m.org, m25m.org.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395.
Why have thousands of aspiring authors teamed up with Christian Faith Publishing to publish their book? Because Christian Faith Publishing is an author-friendly publisher who understands that your labor is more than just a book. We provide authors freedom and flexibility throughout the publishing process, professional book editing, award-winning design, and some of the highest royalty structures in the publishing industry. And as always, you will retain 100% of the rights to your book.
I was looking to find a company that I could trust, one that assisted in the editing process completely.
The most important qualities that I was looking for was a publisher who was honest and upfront, no hidden costs or fees, and owning the rights to my own work.
Christian Faith Publishing will publish, market, and sell your books in all major bookstores, online booksellers, as well as specialty Christian bookstores. Call for your free author submission kit.
800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. That's 800-978-4812.
Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. I was busy eating this delicious meal from preparewithmojo50.com. You look hungry. Do you want some? Of course you do. Get your own. You can go to preparewithmojo50.com. That's preparewithmojo50.com. You can't have mine.
Welcome back to the Breakdown, folks. It is a wonderful Saturday morning here. You know, I wear Hawaiian shirts year round, but it's starting to get to the weather now where it's starting to break. Like outside this week, it was up in the 70s, so it felt really nice. Last night, my daughter and I went over to my parents. It was about 10:30 or 11 o'clock last night. Had to run over there real quick to help them out with something, and I walked out, and I was expecting it to be cold. And then it ended up being I think it was 68 or something like that last night. So I'm wearing my Hawaiian shirt because the weather is breaking and we're starting to get into summer, and I'm happy about that.
I'm
Amen.
always happy about that.
Always nice whenever the weather breaks there. So, okay, the 2023 Lost and Found Index. Now, don't cheat out there, because I know some of you in the chat might want to try to jump ahead and cheat there. But the 2023 Uber Lost and Found Index provides a snapshot of riders' most commonly forgotten and most unique lost items. It says here that it highlights which cities were most forgetful, which times of day and which days of the week riders forgot items most. I would probably say Saturday morning around 1:30 to 3:30 in any city.
If I had to guess.
Yeah, for real. Oh, man. So most importantly, it includes a step-by-step reminder for riders on how they can get any lost items back to the using the Uber app. So there are the 10 most commonly forgotten items, the 10 most forgetful cities, and the 10 most unique lost items. Wow, there's there's a lot of lost items on there. This is and then the 50 most unique. So there's the 10 most forgetful cities, the 50 most unique lost items. So there you go. So that's what we'll do. What do you think the most commonly forgotten items are? You can leave those in the chat. And while you're doing that, I did Uber and Lyft for probably about a year, I guess. And my wife was always kind of she was always kind of worried because you run into crazy people. I did not know it at the time, but I was giving rides to transvestite hookers. Okay, I did know it at the time, but I didn't know it when I picked the person up on the way to pick them up. A hooker jumped in my car one day. I had drunk people puking in the back. I had a girl get mad at me because her friend threw up in my van, and it was my fault because I gave her a bag. I was like, here you go. Here's the bag. She goes, she puked because you brought it up. I'm like, no, she puked because you drank 5 gallons of whiskey and then you jumped in the back of my van to go home. So anyway, there we go. Yeah. Don't forget also to like and share this video as well. And we will like to share and get your ideas also there. But anyway, this story here, a man was arrested Tuesday. So a guy orders Uber Eats. The Uber Eats driver arrives at his home. Now, typically, Erica, they arrive at your home, they deliver the food to you.
Right.
And then you tip them through the app. Typically, now I also found this out as well. You have to tip in Grubhub. They tell you to tip before, because the more you tip, the faster you get your food.
Yeah, but don't you also pay for that too? Isn't there an expedited delivery time? There's a fee. That's in DoorDash though.
Yeah, but the thing about it that makes me that annoyed me was the fact that you're holding my food hostage.
Right.
You're holding my food hostage because you're telling me I have to tip you before you deliver my food.
Right. And what if I don't?
Exactly. Then your food just sits there and rots, and you don't get it. But anyway, so typically these guys, they show up to your house. You take them and you say, hey, thanks for leaving your, thanks for bringing me my food. And then they go on about their merry day. This gentleman decided that he would murder his Uber driver and dismember him and shove all of his body parts in refrigerators in his home. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I mean,
because he asked for a tip?
It says here that Oscar Adrian Solis, 30, is charged with murder while engaged in robbery and the death of Randall William Cook, 59. According to Pasco County court records, Pasco County Sheriff Chris Noko announced the arrest, describing the case as a horrific crime of passion. I don't want to laugh at this, but it's so I'm not trying to make light of it here, just the shocking factor of it. This person, we always say the word evil, but this is demonic. Cook's wife reported him missing on April 19th. That's the Uber driver, after he failed to return home. And it says here that he didn't return home or answer his phone. And even though he had sent her a text saying he was on his last delivery of the night, according to a complaint filed on Tuesday. So the dude was on his last delivery of the night.
Right.
And it's that one. His wife probably said, hey, it's getting late. You got to work tomorrow. Why don't you come home? And he said, no, babe, one more. I'll do one more. And then this was that ride. Could you imagine that? and then they
It says
murdered the
robbery
guy.
in there. What is he trying to steal from the Uber driver? Just the food? I mean, you've already paid for that, right?
Well, yeah, you've
So
already paid for it, and it's not like they can't track you where they are. It says that the detectives went to the site of Cook's last known delivery and spoke with Solis's roommate, Glenn Heil, who allowed detectives to access the security video. Well, first off, don't talk to the police. A clip from the 6:56 p.m. showed Cook at the door with a delivery bag, but then cuts off after about 30 seconds. Video cameras in the back of the home showed men carrying large black trash bags out of the home the next morning. The roommate gave a detective written consent to open the trash bags, at least one
wow.
of which contained identifiable human remains. A search warrant was obtained and trash bags were sent to the medical examiner's office, open to preserve the potential evidence. They found the Uber driver's wallet and keys in the murderer's bedroom, and they found the vehicle about a third of the mile from the home. They haven't
Wow.
identified a motive. He said that it was the guy's father who initially ordered the food on his son's behalf. So
Unreal.
for whatever reason on there, I don't know. So the guesses are coming in right now for the top things that are forgotten in Uber riders. Let's see. So let's see. Deb guesses false teeth. False teeth. Actually, dentures are on the list. Yes, that's one for
Wait, is it supposed to be the top strangest things or just the
just the
top
top
things?
anything. Yeah, you can just like guess anything that's left.
Okay.
It says here, much to chatter about, false dentures and teeth continue to take the biggest bite out of our top lost items year over year. This year, more than 40 instances of misplaced pearly whites were reported, but we've seen a decline in diamond grills. So that is of the
Diamond
it's on the
grills.
list here. Let's see what else
How
do
do
we have here coming in. Let's see. False teeth is on there. Who else wants to guess there? You want to venture a guess on that there, Erica?
I mean, I'm going with cell phones. Like that has to be probably the most, I would think, one of the most common things. But if you're, I, I don't understand leaving your teeth. What in the world? Like it would be weird if you left your pet. That would be weird.
That would be weird. Yeah, that would be weird. So the number two is phones. The number two thing left
Yeah.
each time is phones.
Yeah.
But you're in a rideshare. You need your phone, in order to pay or finish off the rideshare.
I use mine to make sure that the crazy driver isn't taking me off into some factory zone alley somewhere, especially if I'm by myself. I'm on my phone watching to make sure that he's going where he's supposed to be going.
Yeah, exactly. I when I was driving, I had a group one time. It was about 4 or 5 people, a mix of girls and guys, and this was in Cincinnati, up by one of the breweries. And I was sitting there, and just sitting there waiting for them to arrive. And as they were walking up, the girl stopped and took a picture of my license plate. And then when she opened the door, she took a picture of me, and she was like, "I'm just taking a picture because of blah blah blah." And I'm like, "That's fine. I would want my daughter to do the same exact thing. That's very smart."
Yeah.
My picture's on the app anyway. My phone, all that stuff is there. But if you want it for your records, absolutely. She's also the girl we were, I think it was like, there was some kind of festival going on in Cincinnati. So there was a lot of traffic, and we were on 471, 71 North in Cincy. And we were at a dead stop, and she wanted to crawl out of my sunroof in the van and start walking on the highway. And I was like, "Look, no." I said, "You can wait. I'll drop you off at the nearest wherever if you want me to do that. But I'm not gonna just let you get out of the highway and walk. I'm not gonna let that happen."
No.
Debbie also guessed in the chat, cell phone wallet. I'm gonna go ahead and give her this because wallet is number 4. Wallets are left there as well. And the number 10 most forgetful city, by the way, is St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis, yeah, odd that it's there. We'll leave that up and let people continue to guess.
What's going on in St. Louis that makes them forgetful?
Maybe it's all the great barbecue.
Hey, listen, you need your teeth to eat barbecue. What are you doing leaving your grill in the Uber?
You're right. You need that. Maybe they took them out to floss while they were riding around.
Ew, why are you doing that in a car? Okay.
I don't know. I'm just guessing. I mean, like, how do you leave your phone? I mean, if I guess your phone is
You leave your
probably
phone
easier.
because you're drunk, and most people are taking an Uber because they can't drive themselves. Like the majority of people who are taking it who are going to leave something behind, because mostly completely sober in their straight mind people don't leave behind their teeth and their phone.
Exactly. So Bryan has disappeared on us here if you're watching because of supposed computer issues, which I totally get it. Let me see here, because we got some stories I wanted to talk about. I wanted to get his take on them as well, but we're time is ticking away here, so we're going to go ahead and jump on. Also, just don't forget to leave. You know what? Let's go ahead and finish this up here as we are. As we're doing the Uber thing here. Maybe they are, Debbie. Debbie's saying maybe they're laughing too hard and enjoying themselves. I've had people fighting in the car, arguing. I've had, people singing, drunk, all that stuff. It was all funny. So the number 9 most forgetful city, Kansas City, Kansas. Let's see, Indianapolis, Indiana. Wait a second. They put Kansas City, KC. The abbreviation for Kansas is KS. Yeah. Well, the number one forgetful
Details.
thing in this list, yeah. Indianapolis, Indiana.
Yeah, that wouldn't
is
surprise
number
me.
8. Number 7 is Atlanta, Georgia. Miami, Florida is 6. Number 5 begins with Salt Lake City, Utah. Gosh, all
Wow.
those crazy partiers out there in Salt Lake City. Yeah, forgetting everything. Maybe you know what they do? I bet you anything, the number one thing left in Salt Lake City is a Book of Mormon.
I was gonna say the problem there is that the multiple wives. Who knows who had the cell phone last, or who was
Oh, wow.
carrying the teeth, or So that could be like maybe cut down on your inventory on that one.
Yeah, Deb says she grew up in Kansas City. So let's see. Number 4, Houston, Texas. Number 3, Palm Springs, California.
Oh well, they're just old.
Yeah. Number 2, San Antonio, Texas. And the number 1, of course, state, Jacksonville, Florida.
I wonder why that is. I
Gotta be
wonder
Florida.
why.
The top 10 most commonly forgotten items: watches, laptops, books, keys. Jewelry's number 6. Number 5 is headphones. So I guess like the AirPods or the headphones with the
Right.
wire and all that stuff. Wallets, backpacks and purses, phones, and clothing. Just a couple of here for, just some honorable mentions, because I'm not going to mention all 50 of the unique lost items. A Danny DeVito Christmas ornament.
Oh, shut up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so tiny you can't see it. Actually, you could possibly leave Danny DeVito behind in the back of an Uber and nobody would know.
I don't really know that I'm much taller than Danny DeVito, so I probably shouldn't joke about that.
A toy
I
poodle.
might not be taller than Danny DeVito, actually.
Oh my goodness. Are you serious?
I'm only
You're
5
like,
feet.
You're
I'm
like
only
Frodo Baggins.
5'0". So I don't know. Is he taller than that?
I don't know. How tall is he? You have to look it up. You look it up. I'll read some
All
of
right.
this stuff. My dog is in the car. A toy poodle was left behind. A
Yeah.
fog machine.
Oh, wait. What?
Yeah, I don't even know. An ankle monitor.
Oh,
They
hey,
broke
that's
that-
one way to throw him off your trail. Leave your ankle monitor in the Uber.
In an Uber, like, where is this guy going?
Timmy says spouse.
Let's see. Deb says underwear. That's probably in there.
Oh my
let's
God, I'm
see.
taller than Danny DeVito. He's only 4'10". Yes.
Now, here is this one. It says a printer and remote controlled vibrator. I don't understand why those two. Maybe they were left by the same person.
Wait, hold on. Just the remote control
It's
or both?
no, the printer
Oh,
and
the
then the
printer,
remote
I under.
controlled device. Like
Those
they're
were
paired
left to
together.
get.
Like,
Oh,
yeah, like number 9 on the list is a printer and remote controlled vibrator.
well, they just got left an equal number of times.
You think so? I mean, like so
Yeah,
many
because
people-
those two things don't go together. You can't use
Yeah.
a printer to control that device.
Maybe they're a small business. It's a 3D printer for the remote. Number 10, a pen with Jesus holding a slice of pizza. Okay.
How did that get left behind? Oh no.
I tell you, they're more upset about that than the toy poodle. A small camping stove and my funeral pamphlets.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Here we go. This is probably what Deb would leave. My calculator and my tacos. Actually, no, Deb would never leave
Deb
tacos.
would not leave her tacos.
She would forget her husband before she forgot her tacos.
Yeah, the spouse that Timmy talked about would be there before Deb's tacos would be.
Let's see here. Statue of Liberty green foam crown. Yeah,
I could see leaving that behind. You're probably not super excited after that.
A lightsaber. Somebody just left their lightsaber. A Jedi was riding in it. Why would the Jedi need an Uber? That's like Star Trek, the Final Frontier, when they're like when they're on the planet and God is asking them for a starship, and
right?
Kirk was like, wait just a moment. What does God need with a starship?
What does God need the starship for? I just well, okay, maybe that was a child and they left their toy lightsaber, or if it was cosplay, then that's.
I'm sure it's not a real lightsaber. I'm just going to venture a guess on that and say.
I mean, there are those.
One. Yeah, pretty serious ones there. Yeah. Let's see here. Timmy said prophylactics. Would that be condoms?
Yeah, but apparently that didn't make the top 10. So.
It didn't make the top 10.
It didn't make the top 10 because you're not doing it in the car with your Uber driver. So you're probably making sure you have that with you when you exit the vehicle, because that's a game changer.
Let's see here. Some of this stuff just seems more like garbage, like 2 fingernails, 2 painted rat traps, a Tamagotchi light blue egg shaped, and nuts. A hamsters. Somebody left hamsters behind. Half gallon of Fireball. You could have left.
That's a bummer. That's a bummer.
Mannequin wig head. 6 cheesecakes.
I'd be creeped out by the mannequin head. That would be weird. That'd be weird. 6 cheesecakes. Yum. Okay, so that's a little food for me.
Actually, they left 8 cheesecakes, but the Uber driver took 2 of them. And actually, it was a full gallon of Fireball. The Uber driver took care of the other half gallon. Oh man, I'm surprised somebody would report this. Britney Spears fantasy perfume. Somebody left that behind.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So tattoo ink and gold antlers. I'm surprised that wasn't with the printer and remote controlled vibrator. The one Gucci loafer.
Tattoo ink. That's interesting.
A left slab of bluefin tuna for sushi on the floorboard of the back seat.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. Some quick lost and found trends that we can move on. Forget Finding Dory. Disney and Harry Potter fans need to find their belongings. This year we saw a significant spike in lost Disney and Harry Potter items, especially mini ears, lightsabers, Disney magic bands, and magic wands. From bags of weed to pre-rolls and pins, medicinal and recreational, they've seen a high increase in forgotten ganja goods. The Nintendo Switch was the #1 lost gaming device this year, with more than 70 Switch. God. Did you like that? Forgotten ganja goods?
I just, who would have thought?
Let's see. The 5th of April, Forgetfulness, April 5th, 2022, was the most common day of the year for forgotten items, with nearly 1,000 lost items.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, there's other holidays where people drink, but isn't May 5th the only thing about it in this country is people drinking? So I could see that. I could see the increase on that day.
Oh, hey, look at this. Uber X-rated. Tim was along this one. Uber X-rated. Passengers got lost in the moment this year and left a few private items behind, including an entire pack of underwear. That's Deb. She guessed that. Condoms and some sex toys. Wow, we've got some really good guesses in the chats today.
Oh.
Wow,
they're getting
over there. What's that?
Nothing.
They have the list. They looked it up. They're like, we're tired of guessing. Yeah. We're just going to look this one up.
I said they're getting on it.
They are on it for sure. Here is this. We're gonna boot this larger segment we can't cover in the next 10 minutes. So we're gonna throw this. We're gonna move this over. We will get to that. The Daniel Penny. Have you heard about this, Erica? Daniel Penny and Jordan Neely. The Michael. Now he was not a homeless person. He was a person experiencing homelessness.
Right.
So that's something we're going to cover. But again, I want to wait till we have a little bit more time in the next segment. So you're going to want to stay tuned as we cover that. Here is something interesting that I found. Usually, Erica, I know that where you work, I don't want to bring too much personal stuff into here. I know where you work, everybody has like an HR department. And there's always somebody that's supposed to be there that advocates for the employees to make sure that they're taken care of. I used to work at a place where there was no HR department. There was just a direct line. My direct supervisor at the time, my boss, his boss was the owner.
Okay.
And there was no HR department. There was no buffer zone. There was no insulation. If there was an issue or problem, you were directly dealing with the owner of the place. And I've always been the kind of person that advocates for the employees because I see a lot of unjust treatment. A lot of people be like, well, you can work, maybe just hang out a little bit more. I won't be able to pay you overtime, but like if you hang out for a little bit more, or hey, we'd really love you to come and work this event, but you're going to have to volunteer because we don't have the budget to pay you a full day of doing that. And I'm like, no, that's not. That's not something that I'm going to allow. I always stood up for the employees. Well, labor investigation here finds hundreds of underage, actually hundreds of teens working illegally at a McDonald's in Kentucky. This is actually Walton, Kentucky, not very far from where I am right now. Labor investigation found teens working illegally at some Kentucky McDonald's restaurants. Investigators found two 10-year-old kids employed but not paid at McDonald's owned by a Louisville franchise. It says here that Archways Richwood LLC owns 27 locations. I know exactly where their offices are for this too, including in Cincinnati, Alexandria, Burlington, Cold Spring, and more. The U.S. Department of Labor investigation found a total of 242 teens ages 14 and 15 were allowed to work earlier or later in the day than is legally allowed, according to a news release. They were also allowed to work more than 3 hours on school days. Investigators did not indicate which of the group's restaurants were found to have violated the labor laws. It says here that the two 10-year-old children were found working at a Louisville McDonald's, and they've been fined about $144,000 for this as well. Too often, employees fail to follow the child labor laws, employers, that protect young workers, explained Wage and Hour Division District Director Karen Garnett Civils in Louisville. Under no circumstances should there ever be a 10-year-old working in a fast food kitchen around hot grills, ovens, and deep fryers. Can you believe that? I mean, now in Kentucky, we're an ag state. There were kids out. I knew kids in high school that were out picking tobacco, and they were riding on tractors. They were mowing stuff. They never stood over the PTO because that would be dumb. Maybe they did. But they were driving tractors, hauling farm equipment, all that stuff, working with devices that could kill you, like could crush you, like Jeremy Renner did. And so working around kitchens, working around hot fryers and all that doesn't really necessarily bother me. But the fact that they're 10 years old, not being paid, being exploited, and this is happening in multiple locations, 242 teenagers exploited. Where are the advocates for these kids? Where are the parents telling these kids, wait a second, you're not supposed to be working that early. You're not supposed to be working that late. You're not supposed to have that many hours. Why
You're supposed to get paid.
Yeah,
Aren't you supposed to get paid? I mean,
yeah, it's like, hey, well, what parents like, oh, hey, my 10-year-old, they work at McDonald's, yeah, but they don't get paid, so it's like, oh, man, it makes me angry, especially when I see this kind of stuff going on where, kids are exploited like that. As a matter of fact, there was a story that came out of a local place here where two teenagers, one of them's under 18, one of them's 18, one of them's under 18. They had to leave they were asked by their employer to go pick up items off of property where they were working. So they had to leave their place of employment and go pick up items.
Okay.
They were told it was a 3-hour trip. So they had to go, it was going to take them 3 hours. And they said, we can't pay both of you. So either one of you is going to get paid and the other isn't, or you have to split your time. Like, hold on just a second. Do you know how freaking illegal that is?
Yeah.
To not forget the fact that if you did that to an adult, that's illegal.
Yeah.
But you're doing it to children, underage kids, who this same place I know of would allow kids to volunteer. They won't pay them, but they'll allow them to volunteer thousands of hours thousands of hours and not pay them a dime or do anything for them at all. I know it's volunteer, but still. Anyway, so I just saw that and I'm like, where are the employers? Or, where are the advocates for these kids that'll stand up for them and give them a voice?
How do you have that many too where nobody's saying anything? Like are you going into McDonald's, you're seeing a 10-year-old back there? I guess you don't know that they're not being paid or whatever, but wouldn't that be weird? I would think I would be.
It's got to be like employees' children.
That's what I was thinking. Like, is it the manager's child who's there running the fry machine at 10? Like, so you're not paying them because they're not really on the payroll. But that's still
I mean, it's still
problem.
exploitation.
It's still a
It's
problem.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like the parent would allow their kid to go back there and work because they need the help or whatever it was that they were doing. I mean,
Or because they have childcare and the kid needs to be at work.
Exactly.
In order for them to be at work, but you still shouldn't have sit him out in a booth and let him do his homework. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tell him to go around and talk to people that are sitting down. How's your meal today? Do some McDonald's customer service.
Well, if a kid has to work, if a kid has to work, I mean,
go talk to strangers. I'm still not going to pay you for it.
I know.
I don't know. I don't know why I would have him back working the fry machine. I mean,
I think my
that's
first
pretty
job
hard.
was at like 14 or 15 when I was doing the mascot work that I've done before. So, I mean, I don't know but it was all, I mean, it was just on pretty much a volunteer
Hold
basis.
on, did you have a costume?
I did.
Where did you work again? Where was it?
Do you remember the stories about me dressing up as a big giant bluebird?
Bluebird? No.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Where was it that you worked though? Say it again for the first place you worked. Where was it?
So my first job was I did mascot work for my dad's company.
Okay.
So I dressed up like a big giant bluebird and I walked around. I would march in parades. I would go to the grocery stores and stuff like
There's
that.
evidence of this, correct?
I've got photos. In fact, I've got a really
yes.
awesome photo
Okay,
with
this
me and the
needs to happen.
Budweiser, or no, the Budweiser bikini team, I think it is. Yeah.
I don't know if that says much about your bishop title, but I would need.
I was completely clothed in a big giant bluebird helmet, so there was no
big giant. Yes, I please would like it. I promise not to share it unless you give me permission.
I
But
don't believe you won't share it, but that's okay. It's
I won't. I won't.
Yeah, I've got a picture of Bryan as well. Yeah, so I could drop that at some point. That would be a lot of fun.
Aaron,
what?
Let's don't be sharing embarrassing information.
You got nothing on me, bud. I'm an open book. I'm not embarrassed.
Are you sure about that?
100%.
Okay. All right.
I ain't scared of you, man.
I would never ask you to be afraid of me because I don't blackmail people.
Oh yeah, but you know what? I do remember in the midst of a prayer meeting, Bryan saying, "Hold on, stops praying so he could make sure his VCR was set to record Buffy the Vampire Slayer." All right, folks, we're going to talk about the Jordan and Neely case coming up next. Don't forget to leave your sound off. Stay with us. Keep it locked in right here on The Breakdown. Yeah, no lie. Dude stops praying. And I look up and he's like, looking at the VCR I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I got to make sure it's set for Buffy.
I totally forgot about that.
And now like what, 20 years later, 25 years later, I'm like, I would love to interview a vampire on my breakdown on the Paranormal Files.
Oh my gosh. Do you want one?
Yes. You have, you know a vampire?
No, I'll hook you up with him. I don't know if he'll talk to you, but I will.
Yeah, send him my way.
I'll hook you up with him. I didn't know you were going down
Are we
that
talking
rabbit
like
hole.
actually the undead, or are we talking about somebody who just practices vampiric faith?
Both?
Vampiric faith?
There's actually a vampire church where they worship the ideology of a vampire and that kind of thing.
I'm going to take 2 and 2. I'll be right back.
Okay. She's going to drop a deuce is what she's saying.
No.
Hey, I apologize.
No,
man.
that's not what I said.
My computer.
I thought you got to take 2 for number 2. That's what I thought you said. I'm sorry.
My computer just literally went gone. Just
oh man,
blue screen of death. It was done. I have no idea what happened. So,
oh man, I totally get it. I started everything today. Everything was going fine, and then I look over and 3 minutes had burned by like you wouldn't believe, and we're 20 seconds late getting the stream started on Mojo. So Yeah, that's frustrating. But anyway, hey Deb, did you enjoy Cinco de Mayo yesterday? We with tacos and all that stuff. I mean, I know you enjoy tacos all the time, but was it special for you yesterday because it was Cinco de Mayo? Because we had some really good tacos last night. And by the way, one of the most ingenious things I've ever seen created was the double-decker taco. The double-decker. Now, Taco Bell makes them, but they take a tortilla and they cover it in refried beans. Then they put a taco shell in the middle of it and fold the tortilla up around it. Okay.
Interesting.
So you've got the texture of the soft tortilla and the beans with the crunch of the taco shell. And then when the taco shell, you know how those usually break, it doesn't break, or when it does break, it all stays within the tortilla and refried beans. And then you just enjoy the rest of it. It was so good. I made like homemade of those yesterday.
Did you see the there was a story, and I thought I put it in, I guess maybe I didn't. I thought I put it in the chum bucket, but there was a story here about a local teen who worked for Taco Bell who farted in someone's taco multiple times because the guy was rude, and now he's facing battery charges.
Farted in the taco?
Yep.
How does that? Okay.
I don't know.
All right, we got about 30 seconds here, and I'm scratching my head trying to figure out how that's even possible. I mean, like, how would you do that and not expect to be caught? You know what I mean?
I don't know. Apparently he made a big deal about it though.
We got 10 seconds.
Three 58-26. 3 58-26. 3 58-26.
All right, welcome back to the breakdown, everybody. Thanks for staying with us during that break. We had the nice little chat going on over there, and folks hanging out with us on YouTube and on Facebook. You can head on over to those places and watch the show live. It is there where you'll be able to engage with us if and you would like to. And unfortunately, we're not over on the Crusade channel today, which I forgot to tell those folks over there that it wouldn't be up, but hopefully they're listening to the chat as well and engaging with us over there. Now, all right, this story here, it's a crazy kind of story here. I know this is going to go all kinds of different directions. That's why I wanted to wait until Bryan, you were back, and you had some computer issues last hour. But here is this. I'm not sure, Bryan, if you heard or followed any of the information about the young man, Jordan Neely, and that was choked out on a subway car by a former Marine named Daniel Penny. Have you heard anything about that?
I've been listening to some of the story, and it's kind of interesting to think about what's going on here. So apparently, from my understanding, this is what I've put together from the story, is a gentleman came onto the subway. He was acting kind of erratic. He was talking about how he didn't care if he went to jail. He didn't care if he needed money, he needed food, he needed this, he needed that. And my understanding was he was going a little absolutely nutso, and two people tried to subdue him, and I guess it got a little bit overly violent. And
Well, so the whole thing about he was threatening while he was before saying that he was willing to go to jail. He wouldn't hurt anybody on the train. He was yelling that he was tired of being without. He was tired of not having any food, and he was acting aggressively. So the majority of the people on the subway car moved to the other side of the car, and he was down there yelling. Well, then from behind, this Daniel Penny came up and put him in a chokehold, similar to the chokehold that well, no, not similar. He was put in a chokehold. And they fell down on the ground with the guy as he was choking him out. Now the problem, of course, it's a chokehold, and
Isn't a chokehold like that intended to have the aggressor lose consciousness? Isn't that the
that's the goal? Yeah, that and
Okay.
from what I gather,
To lose
because you can have
consciousness?
somebody.
No, I thought
Oh,
it was
yeah,
just
that
basically a submissive move. It
Well,
was. It was.
if
a
you cut off the blood flow to
chokehold.
the head, a chokehold, yeah, they lose consciousness
Yeah,
relatively
it
quickly.
is to subdue them, yes,
Yeah.
but it's supposed to be the loss of consciousness, which is how that's it's self-defense.
I'm not trying to be argumentative, but I thought there was a difference between a sleeper hold and a choke hold.
I
The
guess
sleeper hold I
well, I
thought was
mean,
meant
there
to make
is,
them
but
pass out, but the
Well, I
choke
mean,
hold was
I'm
meant
I
pretty
to
thought
sure
a
a
sleeper
sleeper
hold
hold is
was
a
a
wrestling move.
wrestling move.
That is fake.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know. I don't know. That's why I'm asking. That's
No,
why
well,
I'm asking.
I don't know. I mean, look it up. You can look up a person
Chokeholds are
difference
used
between a
in
chokehold and a sleeper
jujitsu.
hold.
They're in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. They're used in different martial arts. They teach them in women's self-defense classes because it's a way that if you can be behind your attack, they tell you jump on him like you're riding his back, like getting a piggyback and doing a chokehold as a way, because if he presses you up, slams you up against the wall or whatever, it's a method they teach. It's supposed to cause the person to lose consciousness.
Okay.
Yeah, and now you can look up the differences if you want between sleep hold and choker hold, but
we have a request to have a demonstration done.
I tell you what,
Okay,
Kevin, if
Kevin,
Bryan were here right now,
I'm only doing the demonstration if I get to administer the chokehold. Okay.
Ooh, wow, that would there goes the ratings, Aaron. That
Oh.
goes the ratings right there.
so we need about
I know about 27 guys that would tune in today for that.
Oh my gosh, Brian, where are you taking this, man?
I'm just saying.
So here's basically the story that you've given, Brian. The story that you've told is essentially the story that has been shared. The video that is going around is only the event while they're on the ground with the chokehold being administered by the Marine. Okay, but they said that he began aggressively threatening the Marine and other passengers. So when the guy, I guess when he had his back to him, the Marine put him in a chokehold. They fell down on the ground. Now, here's the thing about it. They said that this whole process lasted about 15 minutes and the guy was still fighting. I don't know how long after he lost so I guess he was maybe tightening and loosening and tightening and loosening, because you're not going to hold consciousness for 15 minutes when the blood flow is cut off to your head. I don't know. But he was arrested, but then was released with no charges pending, because he said that it was actually self-defense is what his lawyers are saying. And there's a picture, there's video of it. I'm not sure if I'm going to show the video, or if I want to show the video, you can find it. I can actually put a link to an article here from the Daily Mail that has a longer portion of it. But the headline here is that while the guy was administering the chokehold, there was somebody saying, you got a hell of a chokehold, you're going to kill him. He's defecated on himself. You already killed him, etc. So the guy, evidently, the gentleman, this Jordan Neely, had defecated on himself, which usually happens when a person either really loses all their consciousness or when they pass. Because when you die, everything just relaxes, right?
Right.
There's no more tension, etc. Boom. And usually, if there's anything in there, it's going to come out. So this guy was like, hey, you already killed him. He defecated on himself, etc., etc. So he didn't do any. He just continued without any kind of stopping. Now, they said he never intended to do harm to the subway victim. The gentleman ended up dying. Now, the internet is just on fire right now. You know, Jordan Neely was a Michael Jackson impersonator. A lot of people are talking about how he was not a homeless person. He was somebody who was experiencing homelessness. And because of that, because of his mental illness, essentially, he's the victim here, not the people who are being threatened. He's the victim of all of this.
I mean, can I?
Oh no, you please, yeah, please.
Okay, so I think the Marine, there's something. It's involuntary manslaughter. Because you overdid it, right? Like, there's obviously something like that. But if this man didn't they say that he was talking about ending his own life? That was another thing he was saying. He didn't care about any of the people on the train. He was tired of everything. He also wanted to die, right? Was that not one of the other things that they were saying? In that situation, how do you not do anything? Because you don't know what he's going to do. And if you have somebody who's willing to threaten their own life around a group of people, trying to subdue that person I'm okay with, but there's
Well, I
gotta be
learned
there's gotta be some culpability for the fact that he killed him. I mean,
I
the guy
learned a
wasn't
term.
actually did he have a weapon?
We don't know if he had a weapon or not. He did have multiple arrests for threatening people. He did have multiple run-ins with the cops over the past several years. So it's not like the guy was just randomly coming on all of a sudden. This was his first problem. He did have a record,
Yeah,
and
but
he was arrested
did the
and released,
Marine know
arrested and
that?
released.
I mean, right.
No, no. I mean,
So
no, I don't think anybody knew that. But and you know what? That's a great point, because most of the time, so the reason I say that is because there had been an issue, but nothing had been done up to this point to
local
stop
authorities
him.
were aware of
Now,
him. Yes, right. Okay.
yes, they were. Exactly. So but now in that instance, no, he didn't know
Mm-mm.
the guy. He didn't know whether or not he was going to actually hurt somebody or harm somebody. But the internet is all afire. They're essentially calling this guy the next George Floyd. They're sending all kinds of angelic pictures of him dressed in a Michael Jackson outfit and all of those things. While they're also taken to the streets and protesting. Here was, and this is the part about this stuff that really bothers me. And I'd like to get to some of our chat comments here as well. Because they're actually really good observations. So we're going to get to Jamie's also. Jamie says here, if the guy was just running his mouth and not touching anyone, he was wrong in sneaking up behind him. People have said that as well, Jamie. It says that the video starts with him having him down on the ground. So Jamie is asking, did the dead man physically attack anyone other than running his mouth? No, from what we gather, all the witnesses say he did not physically accost anyone. It was
Right.
just verbal. It was
Right.
just
They
verbal
were moving
threats.
away from him, but
Okay.
he didn't make contact with anyone.
Exactly. So Jamie, other than the fact that he was, because our other question here was, did the guy sneak up behind him without being threatened physically? From what we hear, he was threatened, I guess, as a whole with everybody else there on the
Right.
train car, but he did jump up. He did come up behind him, is what the testimony says. Let's see here. Kevin White, author Kevin White. Hey, Kevin, thanks for joining us today, brother. It's good to see you. I'm glad that you're in here. It says here, consequences are what he brought to the table. The media calling this racist is a racist move. And that's a really good conversation too. Is this racist because this guy's
No.
black? If this guy would have been a white guy, would it be as big as
I
it
don't think
was?
race has anything
Would
to
it have
do with
blown
it.
up like
It's not that I don't think race is an issue. And they're going to make it one because there's
Well,
color.
first of all,
But
everything is going to be a race issue, no matter how you stack it. If you've got two different races that are involved in an altercation, and the one that is inflicting the damage is white, it is going to be a race issue. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just saying this is the thing. I mean, there were more than 35 people that have been killed on the subway already this year. Several of them have been black, but this is the only one we're going to riot over because the person who inflicted the pain is white.
and also because you have the other people on the subway's interpretation of the incident, right? Which, Brian, as you and I were already talking, every single person on that subway car who felt threatened by that gentleman saw that situation in a different way.
And you know what? Words have consequences. If you come onto a public conveyance and you start running your mouth and you start telling people how you're ready to die and you start telling people how that they're, you start verbally threatening people. You're in a tube. You have no place to go. There is no way to exit that car. I don't necessarily have a
I
problem
don't
with
think that
somebody making a defensive stance or standing up for other people. Now, if it was in a park or if it was in a
Yeah.
bus station or if it was someplace where people could walk away, that's a different story. But to go onto a subway where you basically have a captive group of people that cannot get away, and you start running your mouth and you start doing things that you can't. I'm sorry. I'm just
Okay, so I would have a question to Jamie's last comment, right? She says, as long as he was not touching anyone, they should have informed the people at the next station to have the cops ready to grab him there, not handle it themselves. And I agree with that based on the fact that we didn't see a way that he could attack people without touching them, right? But, I mean, if this kid's got on a hoodie and ends up he's strapping dynamite to himself and you can't see it, and he's there saying, "I'll take out everyone on this train. I don't even care about my own life anymore." I don't know that I necessarily wanna wait to see if he actually has a bomb or
well,
a weapon.
that's my point. You start running your
Yeah, I mean, there is that danger right now. The problem is first there are several things that you should do. I guess I look at it more of a and people can call me a woke liberal if they want to. I really don't care at this point. I look at it more of a zen. I'm not going to attack you unless you attack me, unless you physically aggress against me. Because right now the only thing the guy's guilty of up until the point. Up until that point, up until he actually physically does something, the only thing he's guilty of is disorderly conduct. Because we are now in this same circumstance fighting for free speech, even if that free speech is also something that would potentially endanger somebody. Look at Rico Tario. I think it's Tario. And I'm actually going to talk about that here in a minute. He was saying things on Twitter. He was saying things that could be construed as potential violence, and now he's being arrested and thrown into jail, and people throwing a fit about it. Why is he being put in jail? It's free speech. Well, this guy's out there. He's making these threatening gestures. He's saying these things. He's not actually doing anything yet. So if he's not actually doing anything
Okay, but
yet,
that's the same
right?
absurdity of a woman who is being verbally threatened by her ex-boyfriend who says he's going to kill her, and she tries to get a restraining order and the cops say, "Well, until he does something, we can't there's nothing we can do to help you." It's too late then. It's
well,
too late. This
here's the
guy
other
is
thing.
threatening people. He's threatening everyone's life in that train car. He said it, it came out of his mouth. Um and I don't care if he's mentally unstable. I'm sorry that he is, but you can't just walk
Yeah.
around threatening a group of people and expect that no one, because we don't walk around with people's medical history in our cell phones. I can't just take a picture of this guy and have it go, don't hurt him. He's mentally ill. So even though he's threatening you, he's
Oh
probably not going
no.
to do anything. I I think the guy was aggressive and it maybe didn't have to go as far as it did in order to just ensure the safety to the next stop, subdue him until you get to the next stop, and then, yes, have the police take over. But I don't know that I would necessarily just cower in a corner and hope that he doesn't do anything to hurt anybody before we get there.
Right. Right. And so it is in this instance, my approach. And when it comes to self-defense, now, if I'm in my home and somebody bursts through the
Mhm.
front door and they start yelling things, that person's probably going to
Yes.
get shot. All right. First, because you're now encroaching in my home. You have broken. I have no idea who you are. I have no idea what you're doing. I have no idea what your intent is. I'm going to stop you where you are. All right. If we're out in a public place, there's a lot of witnesses. There are a lot of things that are around. There are a lot of people, a lot of things that can happen there. Other people could be injured by a stray bullet. Other things can happen. So at that point, I'm going to extricate myself from that situation as quickly as possible. All right. Rather than engaging, if I'm with my family, I'm gonna extricate myself rather than engaging that person. Let the authorities handle it. That's what they're trained to do. Now we're of course with the police officers, showing up with no guns and being counselors or whatever. But regardless, my approach is I'm going to do what I can not to hurt you. I'm gonna do everything I can to let you calm down. I don't know what's agitating you. I don't know what's getting you all upset. So I'm just gonna let you calm down here. Okay. So in this way, the Marine, his name's Daniel Perry. I keep calling him Marine, but Daniel Perry attacked this guy, jumped this guy from behind, attacked him, whatever you want to say, put this defensive posturing move on there. Not only was he there holding this guy on the ground, there were two other guys that were also subduing him as well. Okay.
Does anybody know what the race of those two other guys were?
One was black, one was white. The Marine was white. The one of the other helpers was white. The other guy was black. So let's not make this about race, Brian. Let's not dive into the debate.
That seems to be the overall. That seems to be the overall contention with what I'm hearing so far. Number one, and number two. Let me ask another question. Just a thought. We're in a time right now where the woke liberals are always saying speech is violence. Okay. You dead named me, so that's violence against me. You use the wrong pronoun, that's violence against me. This guy is actually verbally making violent threats. How is that not considered violence? And again, look at the environment. They're in a tunnel in an enclosed car, and they don't know who this guy is. They don't know what he's capable of. I'm sorry. I don't know that I will. I don't know that I hold this guy against him. Now, granted,
I don't either.
I mean, I would do the same thing, but I don't know that I would hold it against him.
Yeah, like what's the charge that you possibly could? I don't hold it against him. I think it's extremely unfortunate that this gentleman was killed, right? But I don't think he was murdered in the sense of his life was intentionally taken. And I, for one, am pretty glad there's people out there who will do that type of thing when they feel and it's obvious that there's a threatening situation, even if it's just verbal, because there are places I go that I can't carry. And in that situation, am I the 5 foot, as we determined, going to be the one trying to jump this guy and do something? No, but I'm pretty glad there's somebody that is. I don't know.
Yeah. So here's now another thing that I have a problem with when it comes to this, is the response to it. Okay. First you have those because here's do I think that the Marine did something wrong? I think he went too far, right? It should have been, he's a Marine and they always talk about they're bred to kill. That's their purpose. They're going to kill people, right? Now if he's got this guy in a chokehold for 15 minutes, that tells me that he was not clamping down on that guy the full time. Because if he did, you're talking 30 seconds, 40 seconds, the guy's passed out. You've subdued him, bam, done. All right. Why he didn't do that? Put on the sleeper hold, roll him over on his back, make sure he's breathing, roll him over on his back, pull his arm around, put him in a hold. That way he can't get up. Right. Why he held him like that? Was it because of a fight? Was he not going out of consciousness? I don't know. But there is video. I mean, I can play the video here.
I mean, it's probably not going to give us the full context. Otherwise, we wouldn't even still be debating maybe whether or not his actions were,
justified.
if we could see the whole thing. But I don't know. It's hard for me to say that. I think people should just stand and wait and hope nothing happens.
Yeah. Well, here's this. So we have the response. All right. So yes, something should have been. Now, if something's going to be done, he should not have gone as far as he did. Or the other response could have been, we're going to call the police, have them waiting at the next stop, and then have them pick him up, have them apprehend this guy, take him off to wherever they're going to take him, let it detox, whatever it is that they do in that regard. And so, but then because he died and because they want to bring race into this, they want to say, oh, now it's all a racially motivated thing. This guy's the next George Floyd. He's experiencing homelessness right now. He's now the poster child for the systemic racism and injustices that go on in our culture right now. The other side is like, oh, he's a homeless wacko and he had a criminal record and essentially he deserved to die. It's his fault. Candace Owen released a video saying she has no compassion for the guy. It's honestly, I watched that this morning before I came on the air. I was so we're going to watch a little bit of it as well and watch what she compares what happened on this train to something that she did to herself. But watching her and the disdain with which she treated this entire situation is frustrating, because we as Christians, we as a culture, if we want to see a decent culture, we have to start acting decent. We have to start respecting life. If we respect life from cradle to the grave, then we respect life and we mourn when life is lost. We don't laugh at the fact that somebody was murdered. We don't laugh at the fact that somebody died, regardless of the instance. You know, when Saddam Hussein was killed, people were cheering in the streets, and I'm like, why? God himself does not delight in the death of the wicked. He says that in the Bible. He doesn't delight in the death of the wicked. Why am I going to delight in the death of someone? I think Bryan and I have talked about this on the show before. We talked about, somebody who passes from this life to the next. The first thing I think about, like last week with Jerry Springer, the first thing I thought about, he was, as far as I know, a secular Jewish man who did not repent and put his trust in Christ, which means when he opened his eyes in death, he was probably looking at Satan. He was probably looking around at hell. He was not looking in the eyes of our Creator. That breaks my heart, right? Even though he put on the foul Jerry Springer show, even though he wrote a check to a hooker 40 years ago, all of that stuff, that means nothing. I mourn the fact that a person could have died without knowing Christ. So when we look at this stuff here, the way in which people treat these situations afterwards says a lot about the character. Here is the darling of the right now, Kayla McEnany. This is her response, and this really ticked off a lot of people as well. Here's how she responded to some of the protests that were going on afterwards, after this incident went down.
We begin with the growing protest over the death of Jordan Neely. He was killed Monday after he boarded a New York City subway train. He reportedly started yelling and threatening passengers. A man identified as a former Marine tackled him and put him in a chokehold. Neely later was pronounced dead. Investigators have ruled it a homicide. While there's an ongoing investigation, we're still trying to gather those facts. Some people have already made up their minds. Angry protesters, they took to the streets last night, demanding justice or else.
What do we want? Justice! What do we want it? Now! If we don't get it, if we don't get it, if we don't.
All right, we're taking a break. We're going to finish this up when we get back on the other side. Keep it locked in right here on The Breakdown.
Fighting for your right to be wrong. Mojo 50.
Supply chain disruptions, shortages, panic buying. Unfortunately, they've all become facts of life in 2021. The good news is you have preparewithmojo50.com as a hedge against all the craziness. At preparewithmojo50.com, not only will you find emergency food supplies.
Remember when that seemed like a fringe conspiracy theory thing to do?
Not so much anymore, right? Not only will you find the emergency food supply, but also water filtration, air filtration, all sorts of other tools that you can use in the event of an unforeseen situation or emergency, which with every day that goes by seems more and more likely. Better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Preparewithmojo50.com. If you want to keep food on the table, if you just want to maintain some sense of normalcy, preparewithmojo50.com is the answer. Preparewithmojo50.com.
Let's be honest. Wheelchairs are heavy, bulky, and ugly. If you carry a wheelchair in your car to take care of a loved one, you know how hard it is getting that clunky, old-style wheelchair in and out of your car. Introducing the Feather Chair Wheelchair. At 13 pounds, it's the world's lightest wheelchair. It folds in seconds and fits neatly in your trunk, backseat, or closet, so you can take it everywhere. And it's only available right here. Order yours today and get a free wheelchair case, a $50 value, yours free. The Feather Chair. The world's lightest wheelchair is just $4.99 with easy payments as low as $16 a month. Sorry, no Medicare or insurance accepted. So call right now to order yours.
800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. That's 800-823-5826.
Welcome back to the Breakdown, everybody. Great conversation happening over right now in the chat room, which you can join if you go to YouTube. Just search for the Breakdown with Aaron Barker. You can also go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/BreakDRadio, and you will be able to join the chat and watch it as well, listening to everything that's going on. Now, before we went to break, we were watching and listening to the coverage here of Kayla McEnany. So she started, she gave just pretty much a synopsis, everything that we've seen right now, everything we've heard. I don't think there was anything wrong with what she was doing. Here's where people started to lose their ability.
They took to the streets last night, demanding justice or else.
What do we want? Justice. What do we want it? Now. If we don't get it, if we don't get it, if we don't get it, burn it down. Yeah, if we don't get it, burn it down.
Justice or they'll burn it down. Well, at least they have rhythm. Meantime, progressive Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley has already described Neely's death as a lynching. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez called it a, quote, public execution. And other prominent voices on the left have labeled it vigilantism.
Now, they're labeling it vigilantism. What do they call what's going on? I mean, what they're doing is they're protesting in the streets. The same words that they're using, or the same words that they've put Enrique, what I think it's Enrique Tarrio from the Proud Boys, who wasn't even there on January 6th. It's the same thing they're doing to him. They're putting him in, they want to put him in jail for 20 years for seditious conspiracy. And all of that, these folks are using the same words. They're using the same terminology. They're out protesting in the streets. They're out singing. And they are also in this, like Curtis says in the chat, in this mob mentality. All right. Now, what people lost their minds over was the fact that she made a comment about them having rhythm, which is historically considered something that of a racial attack because black people having rhythm, etc. But here is, yeah, I mean, like, honestly, that's what it was. I mean, like, you think about this stuff when you're in these kinds of positions where you're communicating with people. You got to not be stupid.
Right? I mean, we hope for that at least, but more often than not, they are stupid.
Watson says here in the comments, he says, we judge everything by hierarchy and often assume that we need a pattern of harsher crimes before we respond with stronger force. We assume that the petty criminal behavior does not present a serious threat. Petty crimes are what we see on the outside, but we have no idea what else is working on that person. If we pause to respond, lives can be devastated. I do not celebrate at the life lost. That is sickening. Petty crimes, this is the Lex Talionis, an eye for an eye. Petty crimes do not deserve death. Somebody shouting and saying words that are threatening does not deserve to be killed. If you are,
that's not what he's saying.
But
he didn't say that.
He can further explain, but it seems like he says we judge everything by hierarchy and often assume that we need a pattern of harsher crimes before we respond with stronger force.
But doesn't it, that's not the whole post there, doesn't it say the loss of life sickens him and that he's, okay. I mean,
I see that part, but it seems, and he can clarify this if he wants to by leaving a sound off at breakdradio.com, or he can just clarify it here as well. But
you're going to get a sound off.
But the thing about it is you don't respond, for instance, if somebody steals a loaf of bread or if somebody steals a case of beer, all right, you don't put them in prison for the rest of their life.
Not the rest of their life, but I want to scare them.
But you don't put them in prison for that. They restore. See, the law and the law that we have right now is all focused on punishment and punitive measures. The biblical law is based on restitution, right? You stole a loaf,
but you can't apply biblical law to people who are non-believers.
Yes,
they don't live by your biblical law. Well, you can, but they're not going to live by it.
Well, let me ask you a question: who came up with "Thou shalt not kill"?
What do you mean? Who came up with
God
it?
came up with "You're not supposed to kill."
I was going to say, no, people didn't come up with "Thou shalt not kill."
Exactly.
That's not something
God did, but God's law is "Thou shalt not kill."
But God also said there's a time to
But
There is a time for violence. There is a time. You're just as guilty for not protecting your own life as you are for taking
well, hold on,
another.
before
If
we
you just
jump
stand there to be mowed over, I don't think he's gonna have a lot of passion for that
well, before
either.
we jump over to that, because that's a different topic, because the term we're talking about kill. Now, the term that's used there in the Bible refers to murder, right? So it's the malicious taking of someone's life or the malevolent taking of someone's life. All right. I am
Right.
not allowed to murder somebody. Okay. But self-defense and murder are two completely different things. So let's look at it at your first question. We as a people, typically as a world, our governments hold a biblical law of thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. We hold people accountable to those laws, and they're not Christians, but those are
The guy's
godly
a
laws.
Marine. The guy's a Marine.
Yeah.
He somehow in his own conscience has to have made I don't know what, like a settlement where he is going to take human lives, may have taken human lives under his oath to the God country, what and that's a I'm thinking he's gonna see it a little different.
Well, just because somebody sees it different doesn't mean that they see it correctly. No,
I'm
and
not
I don't
saying
need
it's
the guy's I don't
correct.
know the guy's intentions. I don't know if he attacked him and intended to end his life. Again, I've said a couple of times, there was a 15-minute chokehold. You don't have a 15-minute chokehold. You have a 30-45-second chokehold, right? You don't have so there had to be maybe some tightening, some loosening. When he fought him a little bit harder, he probably tightened down, and then maybe it was just the last clinch that took the guy out, right? So I'm not saying that the Marine took the guy's life intentionally or maliciously murdered him. We have to be careful, though, in application of punishments or application of force when it comes to stopping somebody, right? You know, so
Right?
it's just like if somebody's running from a store because they stole somebody's purse, are we going to run them over with our car? No.
No, no, no.
If a cop pulls over a guy because he has the wrong ID or because his tags are expired, I'm sorry, his tags are expired, and that guy shoots off, should the police chase that guy down? No, they should
For expired
for
tags?
expired tags, or even if they whatever reason you have an unsafe. So the thing about all of this is you have to respond in like force, right? You have to respond in like
Yeah, but
force on those
Aaron,
kind of things.
again,
Now,
I'm trying to put myself in a situation where it's you're in an enclosed area. There is no place to get away. Okay. You don't know what this man is capable of. You don't know who he is. He's already threatened to take his own life, which means obviously
And the lives
right.
of
So
the others on the
self-preservation is not even
train.
an issue for this man, right? That indicates he's mentally unstable. I mean, I'm just thinking through, and again, I don't know how fast I would be able to think through this on the spot. But in my mind, you've also got a man who is trained in the art of warfare. So he's already probably seeing these things faster than we can, or he's already thinking through these things faster than we can.
Or been trained to and listen, I'm not even saying that he
I'm not
responded
either.
perfectly, but I'm not blame the mistake comes in the application of said
So
action. How you applied it, what your choices were in there, but was it a mistake for him to tackle this guy and attempt to protect himself and everyone else on the train for whatever amount of time until help arrived? And obviously, like you said, he was not the only one
And
on the
my
guy.
issue is
Okay?
also
So
this. I don't
that's not
think
wrong.
I know you said don't make this about race, but this is exactly what the race haters are doing right now. Okay. And justice or burn it down, justice or burn it down, justice or burn it
I'm
down.
sorry, Kurt.
They're looking for a reason to burn it down. That's exactly what they're doing. They're looking for a reason to do something. I'm not exactly sure what I would do. I'm not going to lie. I've been in places where the environment was a little sketchy, and I did things that I did things that maybe I probably shouldn't have done. I mean, I've reached for my pistol and made sure that there was one in the chamber just in case. I've seen people try to approach my vehicle, and I've put my hand on my gun just in case. I don't know. I don't know how I would act. You know?
Well, this is one of those situations, and again, I'm just simply walking through the process of what I would do. I've never been in that situation where I've had to do that before, and again, I'm not saying that the Marine acted totally inappropriate here. A 15-minute chokehold, okay, a 15-minute chokehold is not indicative of a legit of a real chokehold that's going to put somebody out. That means again there was tightening, loosening, etc. So he probably did have some self control in that situation. Okay, unfortunately, it ended with the guy dying. Now, here's the other thing. I respect life, right? I'm not coming out here saying he was wrongfully murdered. I'm coming out here saying let's think about this. Let's talk about this. Let's think about what happened to this guy. First off, I respect that somebody stood up and took the initiative to protect others. That was very commendable. Thank you to that gentleman, Daniel Perry, for doing that. We need more people that'll stand up for themselves in the right situations, not just running their mouth so they can be on YouTube. Okay. Second, I respect life. I respect the half of that train that was scared out of their minds that this guy was going to do something to them. Okay. So I respect their lives as well because I want them to be safe. I don't want anything to happen. I don't want anything to go wrong for them. I want them to be protected as well. And I respect the life of the man that lost his life because he died. He doesn't have a chance to fix anything now. We don't have a chance to do any biblical counseling. We don't have a chance to preach the gospel again to him. He's gone, right? Now, all of those things together makes for a situation where we have to consider all of the details on this. And what I see happening is this quick bifurcation. You have the left who says this guy is a martyr. He was a homeless man that had mental problems, and we don't know why he wasn't helped. On the other side, you have the folks, and it ranges from soft to hardcore, where it goes, hey, the guy died. The guy did the right move. It was his fault. He was a criminal. All the way to somebody like Candace Owens saying she has no sympathy for the guy or sympathy for homeless people whatsoever. No compassion for them at all. The answer is it has to be somewhere in the middle of that where we take the steps to properly protect life. However, we also honor all of life. All right, breakdradio.com is the website. You can go there, leave your sound off, and also having a great chat going on right here in the chat room. We were not able to get to all the comments here. Let's see what's being said. We may or may not be
Timmy
able to.
The pilot made a good point, and I was getting ready to say this too.
We got to move on, though.
Okay.
We really do have to move on. But go ahead and read his comment, but don't comment
well,
on
it. Just says, did they do a toxicology? I mean, that was part of the issue with George Floyd as well. So,
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about that if you want. But
yeah, I mean, that's a great point. Whether or not there was anything in him at that time. All right, here let's get to a couple more of these news stories that I wanted to cover today. Not a lot of. We might have to cover some of this in an after show if we want to. If y'all have some time to hang out for an after show.
I do not.
Okay. Maybe I'll just talk to myself then. And then see how many people we don't have on the program. I mean, like it's just Aaron, no listeners.
Listen at you.
All right, so here we go. Let's do this. The godfather of AI quits Google to sound an alarm on the scary tech future. Jeffrey Hinton said he quit Google to freely discuss the dangers of the rapidly developing artificial intelligence world. It says in the New York Times today, this is his post. He says somebody implies that he left Google so that he could criticize Google. Actually, he says, I left so that I could talk about the dangers of AI without considering how this impacts Google. Google has acted very responsibly. He's called the godfather of AI, said he previously thought these systems were 30 to 50 years or even longer away. But with ChatGPT quickly revolutionizing the tech world and companies like Microsoft and Google racing to control the field, it's clear the future is here. He says, look how it was 5 years ago and how it is now. Take the difference and propagate it forwards. That's scary. He said, I don't think they should scale this up more until they have understood how they can control it. And his comments join a growing number of tech experts, lawmakers, and advocacy groups who are trying to crack down on AI, with the Federal Trade Commission saying in April it will hold AI to the same account as other business tools. It says that in March, more than 1,000 leaders in tech signed an open letter calling for all artificial intelligence labs to pause the most powerful AI training systems for at least 6 months, saying they can pose profound risks to society and humanity. So there it is yet again.
Wow.
Somebody else, thousands of people, thousands of tech experts, the godfather of AI himself saying, it's not a good idea to ramp this stuff up. Let's slow it down until we can control it. Let's see here. A little bit of crazy paranormal stuff here before we get into bad theology, which is coming up. Brian, you got that
Yes,
queued up
sir.
and ready to go, right? Now, over where this guy is from, this is in Kuching. Do you know where Kuching is, Erica? Or Kuching?
China?
What's it called?
Is it in China? Kuching, Kuching. It's in Sarawak. You're wrong.
Oh,
It's the
no.
capital of the
I
most
mean,
populous city in the state of Sarawak in Malaysia. Jeez, Erica.
okay, wasn't
Golly,
far
Erica,
off.
why don't you have
Malaysia,
your map
China.
out? Jeez.
Yeah.
I should have just said Southeast
You know,
Asia, and then we
that
would
kind
have
of
been
covers a
You
lot of
really
area,
should
doesn't
study.
it?
You really should study on your geometry. It says an e-hailing driver once encountered a spooky situation when transporting a mysterious woman who requested that she be dropped off at a cemetery. The
Wait,
driver
what?
said he received a booking to pick up a passenger near a roundabout of Samarian Heart Center close to midnight, with the destination set for the pending Muslim cemetery. He said he had initially been wary when he saw the location of the destination, but dismissed it as a passenger just having picked the nearest landmark. He said, when I reached the pickup area, I saw a woman in a dark-colored baju kurung and tudung waiting there. It was a dark area, and I didn't look at her face to avoid feeling uncomfortable. But later I heard her soft voice requesting to lower the window near her seat. He also did not communicate with her throughout the drive, and there was a strong fragrance in the car. I'm not sure what that fragrance was.
Yeah.
When he
Describe.
Yeah, he doesn't say. When he reached the cemetery about 11 kilometers away, he told his passenger they had arrived without turning around to look at her. When she didn't respond, he turned around and, to his shock, saw no one there. There were, however, a few old money notes and a few 5 sen coins that were left there. So this woman gets in this ride and then all of a sudden disappears.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, if it happened to me, I would have serious questions. You know, I would, yeah. I probably wouldn't tell anyone though, because people think you're crazy when you tell them stuff like that.
Well, some people think you're crazy no matter what. No, I'm
Are you
talking
just
about
talking
me.
about
I'm
me
talking about me. No,
personally
no, no.
or in
I'm
general?
pointing
'Cause-
that back at me. That's
Oh,
me.
okay. I was like, because yeah, absolutely, people tell me I'm crazy all the time, but it's not necessarily always because there's just some sort of paranormal thing involved.
Always. So there's always got to be a paranormal thing here that's happening there. Of course, we got a couple more news stories, but I can't really get into those right now. Well, the 6 dead cattle found mutilated across 3 Texas counties. This has been going on for years. Linda Bolton Howell has been covering the cattle mutilations. Excuse me. It says it's an ongoing unsolved phenomenon. Every case is creepy. The most recent reported cases have taken place in Texas, where 6 cows are found dead across 3 different counties. Each cow had its tongue removed and bore one clean, straight cut along one side of its face. So far, there's no apparent evidence that can identify what mutilated and killed these animals. It says, now these things happen and the cows will be drained of blood. They'll have like surgical square cuts on their faces, the same cuts as well. And it's the weirdest thing that they have.
Okay, this is very strange, right? And I kind of listen to it and I kind of don't. I haven't really looked into it to say, yep, I know all the facts. I know when these things occur. Here's the pattern or anything weird like that. But does it say anything about it's a cut that's similar to, like, is it a scalpel? Do they identify what the cut is, or is it literally something they say is just like laser cut, like right off?
That's a great question. They do talk about how clean the cuts are. Now, as far as a laser, I don't think there's any signs of any kind of
So
cauterized
it doesn't
flesh or
look
anything.
cauterized, right? Like, so it's literally some kind of tool. I mean, it could be, yeah.
Yeah, it says here.
I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, it really is weird. At least 11 states reported finding dead livestock with their sex organs and tongues missing. Nearly 200 cows, along with a buffalo, a horse, and a goat, were found with parts of their carcasses removed. The case of death of all 6 cows in Texas remains unknown, or the cause of death of those. They say it's a straight, clean cut with apparent precision, have been made to remove the hide around the cow's mouth on one side, leaving the meat under the removed hide untouched. And it says the tongue was also completely removed from the body with no blood spill. That's the crazy thing about this as well. That the
Right.
flesh is being cut away, the tongues are being removed, and there's no sign of blood spill at all. So
Are these cattle in their own field? Like, are they at home or are they just finding them randomly places outside? Are they on the farm or are they
well, they're not
in
the cows are typically on farms. They're not just, wild cows. I don't think
I
they're
know they're not. No, that's not what I
um,
mean. What I mean are these animals being found on their farms where their owners are saying my cows, or are they being found somewhere else,
typically
like
they're being
removed
found.
from the farm? And
Yeah, typically they're being
I
found
know
on the
cows
farm.
live on a farm, you fool. Come on now.
Well, you're like, were these just like free cows wandering around? Yeah, there's real
No, like,
cows
I
out
mean,
there.
are they finding
They're
them
like,
on the side of the road of I-10 in Texas, or are they on the farm and the farmer's coming out and saying, "Hey, this morning I came out. This is pretty weird." Or are they like a tornado has removed them from their own property? You know what I
yeah,
mean?
I know
Are
what you're
they at
saying. Yeah.
home?
The
God.
cases I've seen have been that they're finding them on their own farms as well.
Okay.
Now, this, by the way, just to jump back to our AI story real quick, this is something that I think I've mentioned, I think, on my show last year, within the past several years. I mean, I've been doing the show for several years. Kinsey says that some people believe that the communicating AI is actually disembodied spirits like fallen angels or Nephilim speaking through our modern technology. I believe that AI is advancing the way it is so that the Nephilim can embody themselves and use that as a way to communicate and have a physical being or physical body. Now, that doesn't take away from the fact that they still have chimeras. They still have the chimeras, so like the blending of the animal human DNA and genomes, etc. That stuff was given or delivered on Mount Hermon when the fallen angels came down and started delivering dark arts, witchcraft, magic, etc. to humanity, which is what sent them on the spiral out of control. One of the things that sent them on a spiral out of control, ultimately leading in the flood of Noah's flood of verses 6-9. That's different from the Luciferian flood that happened before God recreated the earth between Genesis 1 and 2. But that the Noahic flood from Genesis 6-9 is a lot of people say was caused by these Nephilim. But anyway, that's a topic for another story. Brian, are you ready for some bad theology?
I think I am. Yes, sir. I'm trying to make sure we get
All
everything
right.
ready to go.
I think we have one video. I think we have time for one or two videos, depending on how bad or how wide my head
Well,
explodes.
I'm going to try to keep your head exploding on a regular basis, because trust me, good Lord, there are plenty of things to explode on.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see if I can find this one here for you. It's loading up now, or it's trying to load up now. This is one that I thought was kind of interesting coming off of the Easter holiday. And I'm trying to share it now, but
all right. Oh, we got to do this. Hold on. Let me get this up.
You're teaching some bad theology. Your bad theology's annoying me. Oh, you're teaching some bad theology. Repentance is the only cure that you need.
All right, it's time for Bad Theology. Now, we used to change the name of the segment to Bad Theology, and then the subtitle, Making Aaron's Head Explode, since 2023. All right, Brian, we've got one up here. Let's take a look. Oh, gosh. It hurts already. Let's take a look at this one here.
Resurrection. I had the honor and the privilege and the responsibility of representing this church in the room where Governor Whitmer signed the bill into law repealing that unloving and unjust law, taking it out of our Constitution and making this a safer and more loving nation, or state rather, I wish, state for all. And that is the resurrection. And that is the good news of Easter. And this past Wednesday,
so the good news of Easter, the good news of the resurrection is that Governor Whitmer signed the abortion bill into law. And go.
Whilst this pastor was looking on.
Yes, yeah. So
the governor signed.
He was thrilled to be there. Now, I'm not going to mention the fact that he seems to be a little effeminate in his speech. I'm not going to mention the fact that I'm curious about his overall wokeness because he thinks that abortion is a good thing. But I am going to say bad theology when it comes to equating the importance of an abortion or pro-abortion bill with the resurrection of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior.
How are you how do you correlate any written law to the resurrection?
I don't know.
I don't.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting for you all to go. You tell me what's the bad
No,
theology there,
it's
Aaron?
a
You want to
road
help me
too
out here?
far.
The bad theology is
Right.
all over the place. I mean, including the resurrection of Jesus Christ, where we talk about the newness of life, where he was resurrected from the dead, where he showed that the world, that he is God, he has the power to lay down his life and take it up again. This sacrifice was accepted by God, and he wants to compare that to killing babies. And then he also wants to say, this really isn't theological, this is just nonsensical. He wants to say we're a safer nation because you can kill more babies now, because now it's because she signed a law to protect this. And he looked on as someone who claims to stand up for the Bible, obviously places more emphasis on fake made up rights for a woman to murder her child than he does on the biblical gospel and the right of that child to exist because God gave that child life in the womb. Do you have another
I
one? Because
do.
this one is just, and especially on Easter, to do this on Easter, just horrible. Hey, by the way, Lep, I'm at least me, I'm gonna be here. I'm probably gonna scare people off, but I'm gonna hang out for a little bit after this, maybe cover a couple more of these news stories. Erica, Brian, either of you are welcome to hang out
The
with
only
me as
reason I
well. So you
can't,
don't have to
Aaron,
go
I would
anywhere
love to
after
hang
this is
out, but
over.
we are having a church yard
You
sale.
don't have
No,
to
we're
give me a
having a
reason
church
why.
yard sale. So
It's
if
okay.
you're anywhere in the Western Kentucky area and you want to come over and buy some really cool stuff, this is the place to do it. We're gonna have. I got a leather sectional sofa, dude. This thing's nice for like
Nice.
$150. This is yeah,
You bought
I
it for
bought it
that,
for
or you're
that. I
selling
bought
for
it for
that?
that, and there's all kinds of really cool stuff out there. So
Wait,
if
you're
you're
not
anywhere,
are you supposed to have first pick at the yard sale stuff?
we didn't have any place to store it, so they had to bring it to my house, and I just paid for it. We got a semi trailer full of like high end furniture, and we have no place to put it. We're like running out of places to store stuff.
Oh, so
Wow,
that's not
Saturday
that's
only. Duke in Search of God.
And we're having hot dogs, hamburgers, cold drinks, and popcorn, plus all the
What kind of
evangelism your
cold
little
drinks?
heart can tolerate.
Who's
That's
cooking?
awesome.
Probably one of my men. And I don't normally run the grill when we're doing something like that because I want to be
Okay.
free to go talk to people.
Well, maybe there's an eligible bachelorette there that is a fine
Oh, I've
cook.
got several
has a
ladies
keen
in the
eye
church,
for
but I don't
detail.
think they're eligible bachelorettes. But then, anyways, let's get on to the bad theology. This is a good one. You're gonna
We don't have time.
you got to
We're
do this
actually
one. You got to listen to this one. It's only 44 seconds long.
we only have 47
Trust
seconds
me,
left.
this is gonna blow your head off. You ready?
Yeah, we're gonna have to
Come
wait
on,
until
dude.
the
Come
after
on.
show.
Let
You
me
can
do
hang
this
out
one.
for a
Come
couple
on.
minutes. You're gonna
You
have
gotta
to
do
hang
this
out for
one,
the after
man.
show too. We ran out of time. You gave your
Oh, come
commercial
Should
for
have
the
gone with
for the
that one
yard sale.
first, Brian.
All right. Okay, Erica, Brian, thank you so much as
Oh.
always. Everybody that's in the chat, don't forget to hang out. We're going to keep going over on YouTube and Facebook. We're going to try to keep Brian as long as possible. Don't forget to check us out on socials as well. Share and like the show with everybody. And as always, make Christ supremely valuable. All right, everybody. I'm gonna have to figure S high. I thought her name was
That's
Paige.
Aisha.
Aisha. Okay, that's her
I
daughter. Is
have
that
no
Paige's
idea,
daughter?
but that's how you say that.
I am so sorry, Aisha. I didn't mean to offend anybody. I probably just committed a microaggression. I didn't even
All
know
right,
it.
so Aaron, we got to get to this one real quick because you're gonna love this one. But for those of that are still in the chat, Jesus did not reach his potential.
I can't believe you didn't lead with this one.
So I want to end with, if it's okay. Jesus never reached his potential. Now, I know this has messed with a lot of people's theology. Because Since I've been young, everybody's like, Mike, you need to reach your potential. Everything that God said and put inside of you, it needs to happen. But when I studied the scriptures, he never reached his potential. When he died up on the cross, he said 3 words. He said, it is finished. What was finished? Not his potential. Because he had the potential to overthrow Caesar. He had the potential to be a Roman guard. He had the potential to do all kinds of stuff. The thing that was finished was his purpose. And if you
I see this is a lot of this newfangled, really stupid kind of stuff where they're like, there's potential and purpose. It's like, okay, first, what is potential? All right. Does to say that Christ has potential he's God. There's nothing about it that talks about him having potential. He possesses in Christ all things that God is in Christ because he's God, right? And it's in Colossians actually where it talks about that in Christ the fullness of the Godhead dwells completely. Okay, so if the fullness of the Godhead dwells completely in Jesus Christ, there's nothing he attains or reaches. Because if you say that Christ has to gain something or reach some potential, or that he is somehow deficient in something that he's done, you're saying that God has the ability to be added to, or to grow, or to learn. God already has all knowledge. He already is complete and perfect. If God had to learn or grow into potential, then he would not be perfect. So by saying that Jesus didn't reach something or failed to do something or didn't complete something, then that is to say that Christ was deficient in his work, which means that he is no longer God and you've robbed him of his deity. So this kind of stuff that this guy preaches, this is what happens. And Jamie made a comment in here that I saw in the corner of my eye. But this is what happens here when somebody preaches to the person and tries to make that person feel better about themselves rather than that person preaching the whole gospel of God, rather than preaching the full counsel of God, the full gospel of Jesus Christ.
Or dare we say the sovereignty of God? I mean, if you're talking about the sovereignty of God, then what you're literally doing is you're saying that God had a plan, and we as human beings usurped that plan, and we somehow figured out a way to undo the ability for God to reach his potential. That's stupid. That's not even like first year theology. That's not even first year, like,
I was going to say, even this, I can even grasp this concept pretty easily. So I don't even know. I don't know how you even sit. And if I heard that sitting in the congregation, I would be like, excuse me, say what now? I'm sorry, what did you just say? Like, if I can figure it out just by hearing it on my own, it's really not that difficult a concept.
Yeah, I wouldn't sell yourself too short on that, Erica.
In the realm of theology, I'm not saying that I can't understand difficult concepts. I'm just saying I'm not an expert. So if I can identify complete bull, then it should be pretty obvious to everybody, I would think.
Exactly. Do you have any more of those, Bryan?
I have a couple more. My computer crashed and I lost some of them, but here's one.
What happened with that, by the way? Like, a nice way to just exit for like 25 minutes.
Well, what ended up happening was I had the blue screen of death. It just came up and it said you've reached a critical error.
Oh yeah, that's okay. That's
everything down. When I finally got everything back on, my camera wouldn't come on, and then I finally got my camera to come back on, and then my soundboard clicked up. It was just, I don't know.
Man, I bet you were sweating like a whore in church.
Well, yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Well, that happened to me a couple of weeks ago. Like everything just blew up. My computer didn't shut down. But y'all remember we were doing the stream, and all of a sudden I just disappeared. And then ended up popping up at another place here. And but yeah, it was nuts. It was absolutely nuts. And I had to restart everything while still hosting the show because the stream was still going.
Hey, did you
the audio
see
stream
Jamie's comment there? Apparently that guy that you were just playing. Well, obviously you see
yeah,
because you pinned it. but still.
Up there, yeah. That's okay. Yeah, I did see that. This guy, it says here that guy's taught so much about God, so much about how God makes mistakes. He said that about the transgender issue. God does not make mistakes. That's what Jamie's saying. Absolutely right. The whole guy, this is also, their church is bad. They did a whole thing around Easter. Were they the ones that did the Disney
No, they
Easter?
were the ones that did it was like an MTV video Easter with, they had like the twerking demons and all kinds of stuff. It was, in his own words. No. In his own words,
twerking
in his
demons.
own words, he said, "We're going to do everything short of sinning for this production." And now there's actually videos of him on TikTok and a couple other places talking about how that people are trying to destroy his ministry. People are telling him that he needs to resign, and he realizes it's all the enemy telling him he needs to resign from his church. I also found out just recently, Aaron, and this has been within the last couple of weeks, that they have hired Carl Lentz to come and hang out at their church.
I did see that as well.
Who's that?
I did see
He
that
was
as well.
He was one of the defunct pastors from was it Hillsong?
Oh.
Or which one was it, Aaron? Do you remember?
Well, it was Hillsong in New York.
He was. I don't think he was defrocked, but they basically told him he couldn't be the lead pastor there anymore. And I don't know all the details. I had not followed that. I didn't know anything about that.
Well, it was a sexual.
Is that
affair.
what it was? Okay, I didn't know. Yeah,
he had
okay.
He committed adultery.
Right.
So he's married, and honestly, I mean, his wife was beautiful, and he had an affair. She stayed with him. He got kicked out of Hillsong Church because of that, and there's a lot of stuff going on at Hillsong and all that. But he got kicked out of there. Now he's hanging over there with Michael Todd. Yeah. Bryan, do you have any more of those bad theologies going on over there?
Let me do a couple more here. This one here, I think you'll enjoy. I do not recall. I do not recall the names of these demons being mentioned in Scripture, but I'm sure you'll get a kick out of this. So,
oh man. Now you might you know you shouldn't do this to me right now.
You're gonna love this one.
Just you shouldn't do this to me.
You ready? Here we go.
You doing?
Harry
The difference of a
Spirit
witchcraft Harry Potter.
Come up. Spirit of witchcraft. Harry Potter. You need to come up and out in the mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Harry Potter, all your Hogwarts. Wands.
Oh my God.
Amulets. You need to come up and out in the mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach. She renounced it.
I didn't pronounce Harry Potter.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, well, good. Perfect. Okay, Megan.
See, it's almost like they're doing some kind of production here. I can't quite figure this part out.
Megan, I renounce all Harry Potter movies, books,
games, wands,
socks, ornaments,
robes,
blankets, hats,
scarves, hats,
coffee
going
mugs,
to the
seeing
actual,
the movies.
what is it called? Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
Yes.
The Dream is what it came in by. I had a dream
The
about
Dream
Harry
of
Potter
Harry
before it even came
Yeah,
out.
the demon came in through a dream, Aaron. You heard that? The demon came in through a dream.
Okay. All right. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, say it.
Of Yeshua HaMashiach.
What are they saying?
Jesus' mighty name.
Spirit of Harry Potter.
They're saying Yeshua Namashai. It's they're trying to pronounce the name of Jesus in Greek or
What legal right do you
Hebrew.
have to be there? Answer me. Answer me in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Answer me.
So it's Jesus
All right, I'm done with this one. That one just that's.
Oh no! Wait! No! You can't do that.
This is they're just.
You gotta let us watch the rest of it.
Harry Potter spirit, you need to come up and out in the name of
This is
Yeshua
incredible.
Koshia Kariana Tiki Ariamatoria Kariana Tiki Ariana Tiki Dimo Koshi Akariana Tiki Ariana Tiri Motoria Ariana Tiri Motoria.
So, for those of you that well, you're obviously just watching, not listening to this.
She belongs to
Um,
Jesus. She belongs to Jesus.
There's she's speaking in tongues. I can't tell if
Well, I couldn't tell if she was trying to speak in tongues or I couldn't tell what that was. I didn't know if that was.
I was speaking in. I don't know if they're speaking in tongues of another language, but that's what it's trying to convey.
Nice try.
There's somebody else there too besides the two of them because you can hear them chanting.
Yeah,
like a female voice.
It's the one that's
Yeah.
recording, and it's one that's recording.
Harry Potter, in the mighty name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. You need to come up and out. Up and out.
Get out.
Get out of her body right now.
Get out.
Holy Spirit, fire. Holy Spirit, fire.
Well, why would you put this on TikTok? If this is not produced, why would you put this on TikTok?
Yeah, they
Get out of her body now in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth.
Just show.
Holy Spirit, fire. Holy Spirit, fire.
Here we go. The coffee.
All the way out. All the way out.
Might be like a black tar substance or just vomit.
Is
that stuff
all
that's in your throat?
all
There
come
we go.
together right now. Get out. Get out. Get out. Let there be a cult member in there. Let all come out right now in the mighty name of Jesus. All of cult, all witchcraft come out.
This is incredible. I mean, I haven't seen this kind of performance since my daughter wanted to skip a test in freshman year.
All the cult witchcraft, all of you, all of your friends, take you all with you right now.
All right, so there's a lot of stuff going on.
There is a lot of
there.
stuff going on there. First of all, there's one part in the video where she stops and she starts telling them in plain English, almost like she's doing some kind of production notes. This is what happened. This is how it happened. First of all, I don't know a spirit of Harry Potter. I've never heard of that. They're pronouncing a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I'm just having. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that I'm having issues with in this whole video. Again, I'm not talking about the importance of speaking in tongues or not like that, but there's a production aspect here that just doesn't sit well with me.
So you think this is just produced? You don't think this
not.
is an actual demonstration of
I do not. And I think that's where my initial thoughts were. Is there's a lot of production. There's a lot of issues going on there that I'm having trouble. I'm having trouble dealing with the video. So when we talk about the bad theology, I'm not necessarily talking about the speaking in tongues thing. I'm talking about them calling out I'm talking about the calling out of the Harry Potter spirit. I'm talking. I mean, what are we going to do next? We're going to call out the J.R. Tolkien spirit. Are we going to call out the Lord of the Rings spirit? Are we going to call out the Star Wars spirit? I mean, I don't know. Where do we draw the line at when it comes to this stuff? I believe that anybody who's dealing with spiritual warfare, and I believe spiritual warfare can be real. I don't have any.
Well, yeah, absolutely, it is real. I think that there are a lot of exorcisms that happen, and it's difficult. I remember when years ago somebody said to me, "When you remember the first Hulk movie that came out, Ang Lee directed it, and it had Eric Bana and that one chick from Top Gun, Maverick. Can't remember her name. Anyway, and the Home Depot voiceover guy. So somebody was like, that is so fake. he doesn't even look real. Hulk, like the Hulk doesn't look real. I was like, oh yeah. So what does a 13-foot, 2-ton muscular man like that look like in real life? And they're like, well, I've never seen one. So how can you say it doesn't look real? And I'm not saying this about you. There's a lot of people that watch this. They're like, well, that's fake. Well, I don't know. Have you ever seen one happen? I mean, demons manifest themselves in different ways. I do know that the coughing aspect of that has been reported a lot, where people will manifest glass or sand or black tar, or there's a lot of mucus because that demon is coming up out of the person. And then I heard somebody talking about this the other day. It manifests itself in your throat, and then you have to speak freedom over that. You have to eject that demon, and it gets caught there in your throat. That's why there's the hacking and such. So she calling it a Harry Potter spirit or demon. It can just be a demon. It doesn't have to be Harry Potter. That could be the gateway that it used to get to the person, because there are all kinds of there's all kinds of symbols in everything from Ninja Turtles and the Turbo cartoon that was on Nickelodeon, all the way to the Smurfs and in Good Luck Charlie, and what are some of the other ones I'm thinking of here? Multiple places, and Harry Potter included, where they deal in witchcraft, where those are actually gateways or portals that can be opened so the demonic spirits can enter into your home. That's why whenever there's an infestation at a place where your home is actually has something going on in the walls, or there's ghosts or spirits or demons that are happening there, the exorcist will go there and they'll look, what is the architecture like? What is the artwork like? What books do you have in the house? What was the last, have you engaged in anything that was magical or could have been like a seance or demonic or anything like that? Because those things you tear the fabric of time. Those demons come through those portals of pentagrams and Illuminati symbology, Freemasonic symbology, and they can then get on you or in you. On you if you are a Christian, in you if you're not a Christian.
Do you really believe, though, that someone can accidentally be possessed?
Yes.
I disagree with that.
Absolutely. A person who is not a Christian does not have the bloodline of Christ protecting them from entering their body. That's why when somebody's like, I'm a Christian, but I've got a demonic spirit.
Okay, now
you're a Christian,
that can make sense.
misled.
I can go with that. But the idea that someone is just bebopping along and walks in front of a pentagram and all of a sudden the devil jumps on them, I'm sorry, I'm having a real issue with that.
I think you have to engage. It's not just like, it's possible that if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time and there's a spirit there and you do not have a spiritual protection or covering, yes, that person, that spirit can get on you and follow you home. Absolutely. That happens all the time to people that talk about that kind of stuff. So you have different instances of that being reported. Typically, a perfect possession is something that a person has to request. However, you could be demonically oppressed. I think you can even be, possessed to a certain point, and then not have had a seance or specifically said, "Hey, I want this to happen to me." Right? I mean, and you could sound off as well if anybody wants to sound off on that or leave that in the chat, because the scripture is silent on a lot of these things, like how it happens. But we see Jesus even tells the person, when he ejects the spirits from them, that they're now going to be ejected. They're going to wander around. And then if they come back and they find you empty, they're going to come back 7 times worse. Right. Which is why when somebody gets an exorcism done, they need to make sure that
too, but
they get saved.
here's my question. I guess this is the part where I'm struggling. Is calling the spirits by the names of movies and things like that, where again, I don't know what most people's take are, and I'm not going to sit here and try to argue with whether or not Harry Potter is demonic or not. I'm not going to argue. I mean, I was like you, Aaron. I was told growing up that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were demonic. The Smurfs were demonic. D&D.
Well, the 1980s cartoon was not. It was the newer Nickelodeon version.
But I was even told that the cartoon from Dungeons and Dragons was demonic. Not the game itself. The game itself, of course, was always demonic because it was a role-playing game, and you actually had to speak spells over people, which, by the way, you don't. But that's neither here nor there. I think that Christians have a real bad habit of taking something and running with it to the absurd. I mean, to the point where where like the Eagles song, Hotel California, was all about the Satanic Church, and it's not. I mean, there's a lot of things that we as a society, as Christians, can really overdo, and I think what it does is it makes people question our credibility. I think it makes people question, do they really think that? Is that really a thing? Is that and the fact of the matter is that they probably do. There are some people that think that. I mean, like I said, I've told you all before as a joke, and I mean this, but there was a lady praying for my mom's deliverance from coffee. Okay, I mean, we do some stupid stuff as a overall movement sometimes, and we say some stupid stuff as an overall movement. My problem is this is public, and they're talking about, if you read the notes on this, Christians can have demons is a hashtag. No, they can't. This is I don't know. There is something to be said for about whether or not the legitimacy of what is happening there, I think, is the bad theology. There's a production activity. When you do this stuff to be seen, you're automatically going against what Scripture says about the gifts of the Spirit. Number one. Number two, you're putting it in a production idea, and you're I don't know. I don't even know where to go with this. I am a continuationist, so I believe in the gifts of the Spirit, and I know that there's a whole bunch of stuff going on over in the chat. I'm going to say this about that. What was on that screen, I'm having a problem believing that was legit in any way, shape, or form.
Okay. I mean, and you're perfectly fine in believing that, Brian. That's what we're about here. My daughter said yesterday, she came home from work and she was talking about some stuff, and it was just about food preferences, and like they were having kind of this little, fun argument, whatever, at work. And I was like, well, hey, people like what they like. You can't argue with them. And she was like, why are you being so zen? And I'm like,
yeah. Since when are you the peacemaker, Dad? What's going on here?
And Aaron's head, as soon as the word zen came out of his daughter's mouth, Aaron's head went.
Yeah, that's so that is so suspect to me. The minute Aaron would go in that direction, I would be like, what am I walking into? This is a setup.
Yeah, where's the camera? Is there like
exactly? Am I being punked
somewhere?
Am I being punked?
Yes.
Hey, you know what? I'm learning the older I get, man. I mean, like I keep finding things out that, well, first off, I mean, just to be honest, I see a lot of the chat that's going on over here right now. And, if you look back 3-4 weeks ago, I would have been staunchly like, that's bullcrap. All that stuff that just happened, there's garbage. Now I'm like, you know what? There's a lot of things that have happened that I see, and stories that I've heard, and experiences that I've had, and things that have gone on in life. There's so much stuff going on for me to have a concrete idea that only this happens and have, a modicum of biblical support. I have to be solidly convinced. And as a matter of fact, I actually texted my family the other day on our family chat, my wife and my girls, and I was like, hey, look, I got a theological conundrum I need to talk to you all about. Because we do that. We get together, we have our little, family time and stuff. And honestly, I don't think I can call myself a cessationist anymore, because I believe that God can speak to a person through their dreams. And I say speak, I use the term loosely. Now, whether or not, I've said before, I don't think that he's actually audibly talking to us anymore. I still, that's where I'm kind of leaky on right now. As far as speaking in tongues, I think that the gift of tongues that's talked about in the Bible is a gift of languages, known languages. I don't think that it is blowing Deb away over there. I don't think that it is a gibberish that people speak and that just comes out,
we need to
hold on just a second. I'm being transparent. I'm being open. I'm confessing here, Brian. I need you to listen and accept me right now, Brian.
Well, we
I
need to
need you
get
to
off that
hear
word
me. Now,
gibberish because that's being thrown around in the chat and it's not gibberish. No,
Brian
it's
is
not.
getting
It's there is a
fatigued.
language.
You know, it's pissing me off. It's
There,
okay
there
to
is a
say that.
language that's involved, and I think that we need to understand there's a language that's involved. It may not be a known language, and even I mean, you can even look in 1 Corinthians 14 where Paul says that that he speaks in tongues more than you all. This is long after the main apostolic age. When you're dealing with people like Paul, and he talks about speaking in tongues, he says, I'm not speaking to man, I'm speaking to God. This is not a language. And he even goes in and says, I'm not speaking with my mind, I'm speaking with my heart. So there's some things, thank you, Aaron. But there's some things that that indicate this is not something that you can understand. So I'm having issues with the whole language part of it, but it's definitely not gibberish. And I think we need to make sure we get rid of that word out of this conversation because that's not what it is.
Alrighty then.
So, well, I mean, and you, you are. We can't be anachronistic. We can't go back and say my experience is what Paul was experiencing. We have to say what Paul is teaching us is what controls our experience here.
And that's why I went.
I need to control my experience and exit, gentlemen. I'm sorry. But
I really need to go too. Honestly, I got my folks waiting on me.
Man. All right. Well, Erica, thank you so much for joining us. Brian, thanks for hanging out with us. Now it's just me.
You guys hold in there in the chat, man. It's steady as she goes. You've got Aaron at the helm.
All kinds of heck. I'm going to be
Let him have it.
I'm going to be watching while I'm away doing my churchly duties. So,
oh man, I'm going to try my best to make Brian break and just jump back on here with us.
Kill me, so now I need to get the duct tape. Is that what you're saying?
Bye, everyone.
Oh, that's all right. Y'all have a thank you so much, Erica. Thanks so much,
Love
Brian. Have a safe and effective weekend. Love you too. All right, so there you go. Now, the last comment that I saw pop up here from Deb, I'll cover this real quick. She says, is listening to, let's say, those people that live in Africa gibberish because it sounds that way to us. No, because that's an actual language. Typically when those who talk about speaking in tongues, see you later, Kathy, if you're taking off. Those who are speaking in tongues are speaking in known languages, meaning that when they speak, someone will understand what it is that they're saying. And that happens on the day of Pentecost as well, because Peter had to stand up and say, these are not drunk as ye suppose. But and every person there heard them speaking the praises of God in their own language. So if you're talking about somebody in Africa, when they speak Swahili or whatever language it is they're speaking in whatever province, they're going to be speaking a known language, right? It does sound odd to us. However, it is a known language. Now, the continuationist point of view would say that is a tongue, because Paul says, if I speak in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, if I speak in the tongues of men and angels and have not charity, then I'm a clanging brass, clanging gong, etc. I can't remember the order of those, but he's worthless when he talks about that if you speak without love. Then people say, well, that's that right there. That angelic speech is what they're talking about. I can see the case. I mean, I know what they're talking about. I know what they're saying. In that instance, and it also watch me end up turning into a defense of speaking in tongues here as I'm pulling up my Bible. In 1 Corinthians chapter 14, 1 Corinthians chapter 12, he talks about the gifts in the body. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, he talks about about love being the fuel that propels that, and what makes all of the things we do worthwhile and worthless if we don't. And then 1 Corinthians chapter 14 is where Paul actually gives the instructions on how church is supposed to be run, as far as the orderly running of service, etc. And he tells people, follow after charity and desire these spiritual gifts, but rather that you may prophesy. Prophesy, if there would be a specific, there's really no listing of important ones, but the thing where you're forthtelling the word of God, where you're speaking the gospel, where people can understand it and it be intelligible, that is prophecy there. He said, for he that speaketh in an unknown tongue speaketh not unto men, but unto God, for no man understandeth him, howbeit in the spirit he speaketh mysteries. But he that prophesieth speaketh unto men to edification and exhortation and comfort. He that speaketh in an unknown tongue edifieth himself, but he that prophesieth edifieth the church. Now that verse there in verse 4, people have said, well, if gifts are given to edify the church, is the statement that they're edifying themselves, meaning that they're speaking in gibberish or in an unknown language or an unknown tongue, because what they're doing is building themselves up rather than building up the body. Because it kind of goes back and forth there. He that prophesies speaks unto men to edification and exhortation and comfort. Verse 4, he that speaketh in an unknown tongue edifieth himself, but he that prophesieth edifieth the whole church. Verse 5, it says, I would that ye all spake with tongues. So there is something there about speaking in tongues in 1 Corinthians chapter 14. It could be showing off, Jamie. That's possible. But yeah, a lot of people in verse 4 say that it's either for their own edification or for showing off, etc. But he says here, I would that ye all spake with tongues. Now, the question that you would ask is, if I speak in a known language, for instance, let's say we're just going on that. If I speak in a known language, why would Paul be saying here, I wish that you all spoke multiple languages? Would that go with the flow of the text? Or if this were you speaking in an unknown angelic tongue to God, would that fit this passage more? Because he's saying, I would that you all spake with tongues, but rather that you prophesied. For greater is he that prophesieth than he that speaketh with tongues, except he interpret, that the church may receive edifying, right? So if a person is speaking in tongues and the church is not being edified, Paul gives instructions for that person to sit down. Listen, if you give a message in tongues and you give it 3 times and nobody interprets, then you need to sit down right now. Not because you're not doing something correctly, somebody's not interpreting, and the church isn't being edified. We're just looking at you. You're speaking to God in your spirit, but you're not edifying the entire church. I do believe that there's a lot of people that do this wrong. I remember the first time I was in a church, and Bryan had an issue with this. This is like 20 years ago or so, where the pastor says, everybody pray in tongues. And Bryan was like, I have an issue with that. And I can see why he had an issue with that, because nobody there is being edified except for the individuals that are standing around speaking in a tongue. And those who don't speak in tongues are not being edified. Excuse me. Let's see here. Now it says, brethren, if I come unto you speaking with tongues, what shall I profit you, except I shall speak to you either by revelation or by knowledge or by prophesying or by doctrine. So Paul is saying you can speak with tongues, but you've got to communicate something of value to that person. Because if you don't communicate something of value, what you're doing is worthless. And he goes on, he says, and even if things without life-giving sound, whether pipe or harp, except they give a distinction in the sounds, how shall it be known whether it is piped or harped? For if the trumpet give an uncertain sound, who shall prepare himself to the battle? So likewise ye, except ye utter by the tongue words easy to be understood, how shall it be known what is spoken? For ye shall speak into the air. There are, it may be, so many kinds of voices in the world, and none of them is without signification. Therefore, if I know not the meaning of the voice, I shall be unto him that speaketh a barbarian, and he that speaketh shall be a barbarian unto me. Even so ye, for as much as ye are zealous of spiritual gifts, seek that ye may excel in the edification of the church. So we have Paul at the beginning of the chapter said, I wish that you all spoke in tongues. And then here we have Paul 12 verses later saying, I want you to find something that edifies the church. Verse 4 says, you speak in tongues, you edify yourself. I want you, verse 14, edify the church, or verse 12, I'm sorry, edify everybody else, right? He says, wherefore let him that speaketh in an unknown tongue pray that he may interpret. So if you're speaking in tongues, pray for the gift of interpretation as well. So that tells me there, and this is me as a, leaky cessationist here, looking at this passage, and with knowing my upbringing, knowing my education that I had up until this point, is Paul saying here that this gift of speaking in tongues is, a known language, or is it an angelic language? Is it a language that everybody can understand? Because what you have to do is you have to interpret it, regardless of what the language is. You have to interpret it. Let's see here. What is it then? I will pray with the Spirit. I will pray with my understanding also. I will sing with the Spirit. I will sing with the understanding also. Else when thou shalt bless with the Spirit, how shall he that occupieth the room of the unlearned say amen at the giving of thanks, seeing he understandeth not what you say? And then Paul says in verse 18, I think, my God, that I speak in tongues more than ye all. Now that does he mean going to speaking different languages of known languages around the world? Or is he talking of tongues of men and angels, like he mentioned in chapter 13? Is he talking the same that he mentions in the beginning of verse 14, where it says here that I'm speaking in an unknown tongue to God with my spirit? So that whole thing right there, those are where the questions come in. And I think the point of my life that I'm at right now, and there's a lot of, great comments going on here in the chat. I'll talk about some of those. I think I'm at the point in my life right now where earlier in my life, you do this. I think people go through these phases in their life all the time where you're like, I've got to find concrete principles. I've got to find concrete things to believe in. I have to have something to which I tether myself. Otherwise, things just start going crazy and I don't have any kind of control. I lose all of my anchoring and I float around the ocean like a lost mariner. And then so you find those things and you're like, you latch onto that. And I think that's good. I think that's great for the formulation of our brain because kids need discipline, right? That's what we tell people all the time. Kids need discipline. Kids crave discipline from people. They want to be told, here's what you say, here's what you do. They want to be told, here is how, you got to clean your room, you got to do the kitchen, you got to do all those things. They need that. And I think as our life progresses, as our mind continues to develop, then we need those concrete beliefs. And then as you learn that and you have something to which you can tether yourself, a solid foundation, then as you get older, you start to look at all the other things in your life. Okay, well, where was I too dogmatic? And where can I loosen up and say, this could be different, this could be new. One of those things is this for me, because 15 years ago, I was like, boom, this is done. I'm done. I'm out of Pentecostalism. I'm not having anything else to do with it. Speaking in tongues, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff is, behind me now. I've matured. I've grown up. Now I am more intelligent than the other people around me. So all of that, I think I'm at the point in my life where I reassess these things. And this is one of those things I'm looking at. And it could be the fact that I look back on my life and I have unexplained experiences, and we can't run our lives by experiences. But I was thinking about a story my wife told us, told years ago. We were dating. I lived in Harrison, Ohio. She lived in Montgomery at the time, which is about a 30-minute drive, I think, 35 minutes, something like that. And Deb says, I'm hanging on to the dinghy. Yeah, me too. Now, okay. I think it's Aisha, I believe, is how you pronounce it. Because I heard Erica say Aisha, but then you put in the chat Aisha. So I'm going to go with that. Perhaps a crown of thorns will remind you to obey. Yeah, there's that as well. The crown of thorns, which I want to avoid the crown of thorns as much as possible. But anyway, my wife and I were dating. And gosh, we've been married 22 years in August. Sorry, I had to think there. Yeah, 22 years coming up this August, we'll be married. So this is like 2000, I think. She leaves. She drops me off one night after a date, and I'm at my house, and I'm like, "Hey, when you get home, call me. All right, let me know you're home." So this is before cell phones. She still had a pager. That's how super cool she was. Right, it was a purple transparent pager, and she gets home and she calls me, but it took a little longer than what it normally takes for her to get home. Or at least for me to get that call, right? When she gets the call, she's hysterical. Like the chick is freaking out on the phone. She is sobbing uncontrollably. I'm freaking out because obviously it's the phone. It's not text. It's not like voice, video. What do they call that? FaceTime. It's not FaceTime or anything like that. I can't see what's happening. So I'm like, what's going on? Just calm down and tell me what's happening. And she's like, she was going on 275 North, which is over on the western side of Ohio. If you're from the area, if not, it's a big loop. 275 goes around greater Cincinnati, northern Kentucky, southeastern Indiana area. And she was on Ohio in Ohio. She was on 275, and she was like, I was driving in the speed lane, and she was speeding. She was like, I was in the speed lane. I was driving along, and she said, all of a sudden, I just got this premonition, this voice almost that said, slow down. And she was like, what the heck? So she slows down significantly, right? And it's dark. She's like, I'm not sure. She turns her radio down. She's, trying to figure out what's going on. And then as she's driving just up in the distance, a little ways, several hundred yards probably, she sees this car make a violent U-turn just from the southbound traffic. So the other lane, she's going northbound. This is southbound. It makes this violent turn through one of those unauthorized vehicle or authorized vehicle only gravel drives between the two highways, spins out on the other side, fishtails, and then takes off again. Right. And at that moment, she realized I was driving the speed I was. I more than likely would have been in that position where that car made that violent U-turn. I could have had a massive car accident that happened. And when she realized that, and she realized the voice that she heard saved her life from that happening, I don't want to say she became unhinged, but she just realized, and in gratitude, she was just like really freaked out. And she called me and told me about it. I was thinking about that the other day. I'm like, you know what? She had that experience. Something told her. Is it a sixth sense? Is it a demon? I don't think it was a demon. First off, she was a Christian at the time. I don't think a demon would want her to live and marry me, I don't know. I mean, it's like one of those situations where I look back and I'm like, something had to happen there. When my youngest daughter was born, the family was out in the waiting room. My wife and I were in the delivery room. She was the one delivering my daughter. She was delivering she's delivering my youngest daughter. My dad was in the waiting room with my mom and with my mother-in-law and father-in-law and them. And okay, sorry, my daughter's came down here. She's about to go to a graduation, so I was asking what time she was leaving. But the family was always in the waiting room, and my grandfather was not. My papa was 30 miles south, probably 25 miles south. In his house in rural Union, Kentucky. And my daughter is born, and my wife starts to have some really serious complications. And the daughter, as far as we could tell, was okay. But my wife, her oxygen levels dropped, her blood pressure dropped. They had to put her on oxygen. Like, we're at this point, 1800s, my wife's giving birth. Is she going to die? And I'm like freaking out. They're putting her on oxygen, all this stuff. Well, my dad had my oldest daughter at the time, it would have been 4. My dad had come down the hallway, right, and was standing outside the delivery room. My father, he received, I believe, a sign from the Holy Spirit, and it told him, pray. There's something wrong. Now, people can chalk that up. They're like, oh, well, that's just, he's worried. He's a worried old man. My dad doesn't worry like that. He's not a worrier like that about that kind of stuff. He receives this. But here's the other thing. Here's the other freaky thing about this. My grandfather, who's 25 miles away in rural Union, Kentucky, it receives the same impression. Pray, something is wrong. So you've got my dad, I'm getting chills right now. You've got my dad who's in the waiting room, who comes down the hallway with my oldest daughter because something's wrong and he wants to be there to pray for my wife, his daughter-in-law. You have my grandfather who is out in rural Kentucky who receives the same message and starts praying out there too. And everything evened out. Everything was fine. Now, if they hadn't prayed, if something hadn't happened, would my wife still be here? Would she have other complications? I don't know. But I believe that the Holy Spirit talked to them. Now, cessationists would say, well, that's just an act of providence. That's just them. And, no, I believe that the Holy Spirit is active, and he told my dad and he told my papa, pray. And they did. And everything came out all right. I mean, those things, those situations happen. So it's difficult. Me too, Deb. I'm getting chills too, recounting these stories. Those situations happen. And I'm sure if we could do open phone lines or something, everybody out there could have this same thing going on. You'd be like, well, this has happened and this has happened. And Jamie is talking about it being the Holy Spirit. It could be that God dispatches the angels as well. We know that happens too. The angels, he maketh his angels spirits to take care of, and ministers of fire to take care of his children. We know that the Holy Spirit is alive within all of us, so that who are Christians. Jamie puts up 1 Corinthians 3:6. Do you not know that you are a temple of God and the Spirit of God dwells in you? Yes, he does. So the Holy Spirit is there actively moving, actively working within you so that you know these things, you do these things. I see this stuff all the time. I've seen and heard people walk up to folks and use words. Like we talked about that one thing a few weeks ago with old spaghetti. That annoys me. Maybe because he used the word spaghetti and it seemed like it was, not glorifying Christ enough for me. I don't know. But there are people who have that all the time. Go over and talk to this person. Say these words, discuss with this person. Bryan has talked about that on the show. So I think this point in my life, I'm reassessing a lot of these things and realizing that I could be wrong. I just said that. And thank goodness Bryan wasn't here or Erica wasn't here to hear that. I'm not going to clip that off the sound. But I believe that I could be wrong on a lot of this stuff. So we have to be careful not to let what our dogmatic thinking is cloud us from interpreting the scripture, regardless of what that dogmatic thinking is, right? So when we read the Bible, we have to interpret what was being said to the people at the time and how that applies to us today, right? So in order for us to have that dogmatic approach, we have to be careful not to allow that to cloud the scripture as it is being conveyed. So Deb says here, you are a reassessing cessationist. I can say that, a reassessing cessationist. This stuff fascinates me. The connection, because you hear, and there was a story we didn't get a chance to cover on the show today. And you're welcome, by the way. I'm still doing sound offs. If you want to leave one, go to breakdradio.com, click on the mic in the bottom right-hand corner. Where was it? Oh, it was in the other show prep about quantum connections where cells that are not part of one another are acting in the same exact ways, even though they could be miles and miles or thousands of miles apart. They're acting in the same exact way. It's called quantum entanglement. Is what it is. So quantum entanglement, let me see if I can get the story here real quick. Get rid of it, did I? That is a tough one. Yeah, let's see here. Quantum entanglement or action at a distance. I think Einstein called it spooky action at a distance, I think is what it was. And let me look this up real quick. But like how do you have, for instance, shared death experiences? I have a gentleman that I know that goes to a local church here who had a shared death experience where he saw a vision of his father. I believe in a dream or in a vision. I can't remember the exact story. He saw a vision of his father, and it was at the time that his father was dying. There have been those situations where somebody has been out in their front yard gardening, and then they stop and they're like, oh my goodness, so-and-so just died, where they feel that I guess that departure of that person's soul from this plane into the next dimension, right? So you look at something like that and you wonder, how is all that possible? It's not just natural sciences doing their natural thing. I believe that God is involved in that. So quantum entanglement, this article says here, is a bizarre counterintuitive phenomenon that explains how two subatomic particles can be intimately linked to each other, even if separated by billions of light years in space. Despite their vast separation, a change induced in one will affect the other. In 1964, physicist John Bell posited that such changes can be induced and occur instantaneously, even if the particles are very far apart. Bell's theorem is regarded as an important idea in modern physics. I'm sorry, let me scoot this a little closer. In modern physics, and let's see here. But it conflicts with other well-established principles of physics. For example, Albert Einstein had shown years before Bell proposed this theorem that information cannot travel faster than the speed of light. Perplexed, Einstein famously described this entanglement phenomenon as spooky action at a distance. For more than 50 years, scientists around the world experimented with Bell's theorem, but were never able to fully test the theory. In 2015, however, 3 different research groups were able to perform substantive tests of Bell's theorem, and all of them found support for the basic idea. Let's see here. I'm going to share this piece here. Yeah, Curtis, quarks would be part of that as well. I don't want to get too far off in the weeds on this, but this is a chart that they show here. A source of photons sends out a pair of entangled photons, one to Alice and one to Bob. Alice and Bob are quite a distance from each other, so are the photons, but they remain entangled. Alice randomly chooses how to measure the polarization of her photon and doesn't tell Bob. Bob also randomly chooses a way to measure the polarization of his photon and doesn't tell Alice. Alice and Bob realize that the results of their measurements are correlated because of the photons, even far apart, are still intimately linked. That is, they are entangled. I hear stuff like that, and I'm like, that's a spiritual thing where God and the Holy Spirit are completely and still engaged in the world that we live in and still are active. And I never quite gave up on the fact that the Holy Spirit is still active in the world. And I never gave up on the fact that miracles still happen. Although some theologians will say that miracles ceased and these are just providence, right? But I can't escape some of the circumstances, some of the things that I've explained to you here. How that is not still active, how God is not still active and speaking through those ways. Dreams are another way, man. I mean, dreams fascinate me. My daughter, when she was younger, would have dreams and visions. Like she would have dreams and then we would go to a store somewhere and she would see the exact thing she dreamt about. And I've tried for years to get her to write her dreams down, but she always forgets. I'm like, you got to write your dreams down. We got to follow this. We got to see what's going on. And I actually bought a book this week about dreams, and it's a dream journal with things in there and information about dreams. Not sure what people think about that. But anyway, let's see here. If there's anything else I wanted to cover really quick from the show this week that we did not get a chance to talk about with, here's another thing that goes along with this kind of spiritual paranormal type thing. Last year, I covered a story where a man who had epilepsy was undergoing, and in the pronunciation of it gets me because I'm a professional radio host. It says here, where is it? An it's an EEG, an electroencephalogram. He was undergoing an electroencephalogram, and whilst he was undergoing this test, he had a massive and fatal heart attack. Well, the EEG kept recording. And what it recorded was the mind as it died. They had like 900 seconds, which is like 15 minutes of the guy's life dissipating, his brain actually shutting down as he was dying. It says the 30 seconds before and after the man's heart stopped, his brain waves were remarkably similar to those seen during dreaming, memory recall, and meditation, suggesting that people may actually see their life flash before their eyes when they die. The phenomenon of replaying past memories when you die has been reported by some people who have had near-death experiences, but this is the first scientific evidence that this flash might be real. However, as this is the only case study, it is impossible to make further assumptions about how common the phenomenon may be or what the experience may be like. Now, here's one thing, because I used to talk about these near-death experiences and I'm like, it's just the brain shutting down. Now, technically, I was accurate on that. But there's a lot of people who report the exact same things happening as their brains, as they have these near-death experiences. It's the stuff that happens after that. Like those who said I think it was Don Piper, wrote a book called 90 Minutes in Hell, where he died and went to hell. And then you had, what was that kid's name? Burpo. Todd Burpo wrote that book about his son. And then they did the movie about that kid dying and going to heaven, knowing information and knowledge that he would not have been able to receive outside of that. But you have all these people that have these near-death experiences that have such similar stories. And then you have this correlating evidence that as they shut down, as the mind shuts down, this is where they actually start to see it. Well, now there's another story from Michigan. I got this from Michigan Medicine. A study finds intriguing brainwave patterns in comatose patients who died following cardiac arrest. Reports of near-death experiences, blah, blah, this here. The fact that these reports share so many common elements begs the question of whether there is something fundamentally real underpinning them, and that those who have managed to survive death are providing glimpses of a consciousness that does not completely disappear even after the heart stops beating. A study published in the Proceedings of National Academy of Science provides early evidence of a surge of activity correlated with consciousness in the dying brain. The study, led by Jimmo Borgian, an associate professor in the Department of Molecular and Integrative Physiology and the Department of Neurology. Gosh, what a title. Can you imagine putting that on a business card? And her team is a follow-up to the animal studies conducted almost 10 years ago in collaboration with George Mosher. So this is in animals too. The founding director of Michigan Center for Consciousness Science. Similar signatures of gamma activation were recorded in the dying brains of both animals and humans upon the loss of oxygen following cardiac arrest. How vivid experience can emerge from a dysfunctional brain during the process of dying is a neuroscientific paradox. Dr. Borgian has led an important study that helps shed light on the underlying neurophysiologic mechanisms. The team identified 4 patients who passed away during cardiac arrest in the hospital while under EEG monitoring. All 4 of the patients were comatose and unresponsive. They were ultimately determined to be beyond medical help and, with their family's permission, removed from life support. Upon removal of ventilator support, 2 of the patients showed an increase in heart rate, along with a surge of gamma wave activity, considered the fastest brain activity and associated with consciousness. The activity was detected in the so-called hot zone of neural correlates of consciousness in the brain, the junction between the temporal, parietal, and occipital loans in the back of the brain. That's been associated with dreaming, visual hallucinations in epilepsy, and altered states of consciousness in other brain studies. They had no reports of seizures, no seizures during the hour before or the hour before their deaths, and a clinical associate. Let's see here. So what this is telling us is that the brain and death and these near-death experiences could potentially be true. That these people are dying, and as they're dying, their mind where they hallucinate, their mind where they dream and have the vivid dreams, their mind that has the memories all start flashing before their eyes. And it's possible that as you die, your life does flash before your eyes in the form of a memory. So that stuff fascinates me. You know, death to me, I'm not scared of death in that I know where I'm going. I'm going to be with Christ, which is amazing. I don't want to leave because I want to see my family grow up. I want to see my children grow up. I want to be with my wife, and spend the rest of my life with her. But death fascinates me. Just think about how if you close your eyes, the moment you close your eyes when you die, I should say, you're immediately with whomever you're going to spend eternity with. But these different ways, or these similar ways that the brain shuts down, and people have these same accounts that were brought back from the verge of death. It's fascinating to see these kinds of things. It's amazing. You can leave a sound off on that as well. If you go to breaktradio.com, click on the mic in the bottom right-hand corner. Let's see. Check the chat here. If there's anything. Now, Curtis, you said in there quarks. If you have any more information on that, all of this stuff fascinates me. I'm a wannabe science nerd. And I want to understand all of this. I don't necessarily have the full understanding of all these photons and quantum entanglement and how that works. Debbie says here, our brains are like large computers that hold everything. Yeah, they are. They suck in billions of bits of information every single day. Stuff that you don't think of, stuff that you pick up, that you could potentially tap into if possible. But it's amazing what our brain absorbs, and then the recounting of that information towards the end of our life and how that spits that out to us as well. It's pretty awesome. I think that is fascinating stuff. Okay, let's take a look at this here. This one, this got a little video to it. Hold on just a second. This is a woman was on an airplane, and whilst she was on an airplane, she leaned her chair back, like your seat back. You can lay back on your chair. And when she leaned back on her chair, the woman behind her the entire flight kept kicking the chair, pushing the chair, because evidently the person behind her didn't like the fact that she was leaning back. So after the flight, she decided to say something, and here's actually what she said.
The whole trip, she pushed my seat. No, you seen it. No, she didn't. She put, no. I'm allowed to put my seat back. I'm allowed to put my seat back. I'm allowed to put my seat back.
So that's what she kept saying over and over again. She's allowed to put her seat back. But, you think, I get self-conscious of that if I'm flying. You lay your seat back like that. And you're going to interfere with the people behind you. And I always worry about that, because it's happened to me before. I'm a big guy. We try to travel for me because I'm tall and I'm big. But I try to get a place where I have a lot of leg room. We try to fly comfort so I can have some space. But I think that when I lean back like that, I'm going to interfere with somebody else. And it bothers me, because I hate it when somebody leans back on me. So I don't know. She says she's allowed to lean her seat back. Maybe she should have said something during the flight rather than waiting until the end to go to get angry on that. I don't know. But she could have said something earlier. But there at the end, she does have the right to put her seat back if she so desires to do so. That's not the only reason that I hate. I love to fly, but I hate the TSA. So I really, really disdain what the TSA says and what the TSA does. Deb says she typically asks to lean back in those situations. That's very kind of you, Deb. That's actually something I should potentially practice the next time we fly. We're flying out next Sunday, by the way. We're going to be going on a vacation with the family. So when we're on vacation, we have to fly. So perhaps I'll ask the person behind me before I lean my chair back. Hey, is it okay with you if I lean my chair back? So here's this right here as well. I absolutely hate the TSA. If you've listened to the show long enough, you know that. I believe that the TSA is worse. Man, do I want to say worse than the IRS? It's as bad as the IRS. And I hate the IRS. So here's this. It was mortifying, claims the headline. Women claim they were humiliated by American Airlines staff after being forced to strip down and get butt naked in front of fellow passengers at the gate when their outfits were deemed inappropriate. Two women have expressed their humiliation after claiming they were forced to change their outfits in front of other passengers before boarding a plane. Comedian and YouTuber Chrissy Meyer tweeted about the incident, which happened when she was traveling with her friend Keanu Thompson from Las Vegas to Dallas on American Airlines. And the post quickly garnered more than 200,000 views. In the tweet, she reveals the outfit she and Keanu were initially wearing. Okay, so let's look at this here. This is what she was wearing. Right? Let's see if it'll, yeah. So this is what she was wearing. Revealing, yes. This is what they made her change into, or made them change into. How is that any different or any better? I mean, honestly, like you see this. She is, do a side-by-side of the two photos. She's actually got all of her legs covered here. Now she has short shorts. She's got, this slit in the dress. Now she's wearing short shorts, still with the midriffs on both of the ladies are shown. And the humiliation, and here they are again. It says many online commentators sympathize with them. It says bizarrely the duo were told to change their pants at the gate, but the shorts they put on instead turned out to be more revealing. She said that's no way to treat a rewards member. It's no way to treat anybody. I don't care if you're a rewards member or not. What the crap does that mean? Now I don't want to support you because you're throwing around I'm a rewards member. I don't care. The human being shouldn't be treated like that. Recounting the exact chain of events, she said they didn't say what was wrong with our pants. The man at the gate touched me on the arm and said, "Come with me. I need to speak with you. You have to change your pants." She wasn't wearing pants. She was wearing a dress. So I don't understand this. She said here, it was such a panic situation. I felt like I had to instantly do what he or she said, else we wouldn't be allowed to board the plane. We also had plans to do appearances in the next day. We're comedians, so we didn't want to be delayed. I wish I had said, ladies, take a few minutes to go to the bathroom and find something else to wear, but he didn't specify why it was inappropriate, nor did he tell us what else we would be okay to put on. So I just grabbed the first thing in my luggage. That was a couple pairs of shorts. All our other luggage had been checked. Then the other gate attendant told me that then the bag I had needed to be checked as well because there was no more overhead space left. So we had no way to change into something else on the plane. They had to change with no cover. That's what she said. At the gate with no cover. It says here that she complained. They take matters of customer service expensive. But anyway, this is what you have to endure from the TSA. And yes, it is equal disdain. Jamie says here, Deb says here, it's equal disdain for both the IRS and where did it go? And the TSA. Yeah, we'll go with that. Equal disdain. Jamie says, I do not agree with them making them a change at the gate, but I'm correct, because if they're saying, hey, you're dressed inappropriately, so now we're going to make you strip down and show your bodies, which is even more inappropriate, to put on something appropriate. Jamie says, I do not agree with them making them a change, but I do agree with the fact that people need to learn how to dress in public. Yeah, they do. And Deb agrees with the dress decorum there. So there's that. I hate the TSA. I hate the government. I hate the IRS. They're probably going to block me on Facebook for saying that. Okay. Let's see. Let's do another story here. Mexico is seeding clouds to make it rain. I didn't think they were doing this. I thought all this was fake. I didn't think this existed at all. Well, I have to do all this cookie stuff here. Here it says, here's the headline. Mexico is seeding clouds to make rain. Scientists aren't sure how it works, so I have a great idea. Let's just pump the sky full of chemicals. We really have no idea how this works, but let's pump the sky full of chemicals, and then we'll deal with the consequences later. We just want to see if we can make it rain. Farmers in Mexico, desperate for rain, are asking their government to bomb the clouds. The country has experienced its second worst drought in a decade, and farmers are afraid of their crops and livestock, so they've asked the Michigan government to use cloud seeding technology to help them. In March, the National Commission for Arid Zones, a branch of the country's agricultural ministry, announced that it would launch a rain simulation program in the northeastern and northwestern states of Tamaulipas and Baja California, respectively. However, scientists warn that there is a scant evidence that cloud seeding works. First off, when you put these cloud seeds in the air, the clouds do not stay still, right? The effects that you have can be pushed thousands of miles in other directions because of what they call air and how it moves the clouds. Let's see here. There was a story out of California. I think this was back in the early 2000s. They sent they actually caused it to rain, or they did so much cloud seeding and so many chemtrails in the air, so many, actually, let me not say chemtrails. My friend Dane Wingington corrected me on that. It is actually stratospheric aerosol injections, SAE. They've put so many of those chemicals in the air that there was flooding in California that caused billions of dollars in damages. And they knew it was because of that. billions of dollars in damages because it caused so much rainfall out there. You cannot control this stuff. You cannot control it. Yes, they have been cloud seeding since the 50s. It has been going on. Cloud seeding and geoengineering, stratospheric aerosol injections have been going on. That is so much in the skies, and they still don't know the massive amounts of damage that it can cause, just like the scientists are saying here. They said the idea behind cloud seeding is to disperse particles, usually crystalline silver iodide, into clouds because the particles have a crystal structure similar to ice. They attract water droplets to nucleate around them. Eventually, the droplets become heavy enough to fall as rain or snow. Now, let me ask you a question. Is it possible that during this cloud seeding, one of the potential negative effects is hail dropping in parts of Texas and Florida the size of softballs? Look at some of these pictures here. Let's see here. There's some of the damage done because of the hail. Where was a picture of that hail? I thought it was on this article. Here we go. We'll watch this video real quick of these huge softball-sized hail droplets and what they did to... Oh, look at that cow. Oh, poor cow. You gotta move. You got water. Watch how the water just bounces like that from the amount of stuff that's falling. Yeah, Jamie, thank you for sending me those. The patents that exist for cloud seeding, the type of airplanes that they use, and the jet streams. Here's the funny thing, though. For years, we've been told that we're crazy, Jamie. And we've been told that we don't know what we're talking about, that they're not doing anything like this, and that it's not going on. The stories you're now going to hear about the stratospheric aerosol injections and the dangers that they say we're facing, this is the stuff that they're starting to release slowly that they're going to let us know about. Same thing happened with the AI. This AI has been happening for a long time, and then they just released that slowly. That's the technology that they're going to allow us to have, right? And they've already been perfecting that over the years. Here is this news story. Let's see. Let me get to this news story here real quick. This was just recently on Good Morning America. Where'd it go? This is a story that they're meteorologists did, and some video proof to go along with it. If it'll play, and video proof to go along with it as well. So I'd like you to watch this. It says it's 5 minutes long. I'll try to skip through this so we're not watching the full 5 minutes. But here we go.
News, the Power of Water initiative. We count down to Earth Day here on GMA and ABC. We're taking a look at rivers across the country. Ginger, you got a big headline about the Colorado River and maybe an innovative tool that could help?
Yes, so we just learned from the organization American Rivers that part of the Colorado River, the part around the Grand Canyon, well, it has been named the most endangered river in our nation. The whole river and its critical reservoirs, Lake Mead, Lake Powell, they've been seeing historic lows. But now we are learning about a major ramp up of a tool that gives Mother Nature a boost. It's called weather modification or cloud seeding. I studied this stuff, but it has changed dramatically since even 20 years ago. And it's happening right now in 10 states across the western United States.
This morning, the Colorado River, called the hardest working river in the United States, is in danger.
This is due to two causes: reductions in precipitation and increased air temperatures. We're now seeing flows in the Colorado River that we've never seen before.
Let's jump here a little bit on this video.
Across the American West, like this one in Utah, where they take planes.
They're putting these chemicals into these planes, all right? And these planes are dispersing them. Here's the funny thing. And I know Jamie's probably had to deal with this as well. Maybe a lot of you have had to deal with this. Let me refresh this so it actually plays. maybe a lot of you have had to deal with this when you're having these conversations about stratospheric aerosol injections,
We got an ABC News.
chemtrails, etc. We've been told, hey, you're crazy. Do they have a switch or something up there?
Utah, where they take planes
Are they
like this
spraying
with
it?
flares attached. They fly.
Do they have, I don't know, some type of device that hangs out and just sprays these chemicals in the air? Gee, I don't know. What do you call this thing that they're actually now showing us on national TV, on Good Morning America, as a way to save water? As a way to save water. That's how they're billing it. I believe in climate change. It's man-made climate change. And it's man-made because of the chemicals we've been pumping into the air. Not because of the fumes from the carbon monoxide, et cetera. That could potentially play. But I believe that the majority of this stuff is coming out of here. Bees are dying. Sea algae is dying. The sun is becoming hotter. It's destroying the ozone layer. It is destroying environments. It's killing crops. It's causing droughts. It's causing massive rainfall in other places. The all of the stuff that we see going on in California with the massive droughts they're facing there and down in Mexico, these things can also be tied to the stratospheric aerosol injection because of the chemicals that they're doing and pumping into the air.
Right into the storm and send microscopic particles into the cloud. Particles that act like magnets for water droplets, bonding together until they are heavy enough to fall to the ground as rain or snow. Kamens, whose pilot showed us a cloud seeding demonstration flight, says that cloud seeding can make 3 to 15% more snowpack.
That water can be priceless. It can make the difference of adding a couple weeks to your irrigation cycle. For
people have made jokes and they've said, "Oh, you think we just hit a switch or something like that?" Well, I don't know. Gee, let's take a look at what this guy should have when he does.
Kamens, whose pilot showed us a cloud seeding demonstration flight.
What's that right there? Flare, fire, button, bam. I mean, they're showing you what they do. It's right here in front of us. I've been called a crazy conspiracy theorist, a wacko. I'm not that I care. I mean, I've been made fun of my entire life because I was a fat kid and then I became a Christian when I was in middle school. So you can just imagine what my middle school experience was like, right? So I'm used to being made fun of. I'm used to being called stupid. I'm used to being called a crazy whack job, especially with all this stuff. But here they're showing you the flares. They're showing you the buttons. And then they want to say, you're the crazy one because you believe there are flares and buttons on these planes. What do you think? We just control it? Yeah, I do. There's a great website. As a matter of fact, let me do this real quick as well, because if I go to, let me go to the breakdown, I'll show you the website, my website here. This is my website. Oh, I forgot to change the title. I have to change that today. Let me search. Let me go to guests. Yeah, right there he is right here. Dane Wigington. This episode right here. This is on a Freaky Friday episode. This is from a couple years ago, May of 2021. Freaky Friday, breaking down geoengineering with Dane Wigington. This episode right here, I'm going to go ahead and take this and drop it. This is 2 hours of Dane Wigington schooling me and everybody else there about geoengineering, about what's going on, about the detrimental effects and the impacts on our society, on our earth, right? So I dropped the link in the chat for anybody there that wants to go and listen to this listen to this as well with Dane Wigington. You can also check him out if you go to geoengineeringwatch.org, which is his website. If you go to the Facebook, or if you go to my website, if you don't have a chance to get the link, if you're listening to this some other way, just head on over to breaktradio.com, go under guests and get Dane Wigington, and then click on the little website button there, and it'll take you to geoengineeringwatch.org, which is this website right here that talks about all of this. He's got his movie on there, which they actually show where they took a plane up, flew behind these airplanes that were dispersing these chemicals into the sky. And they took tests, or they took those and had tests run on them. And what did they find? Oh, gee, what they found was bromine, mercury, and other chemicals that were in these stratospheric aerosol injections, in these chemicals being dispersed in the sky. Funny thing as well, What's one of the things that is affecting honeybees right now? What's affecting honeybees is a disease very similar to Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's in a bee, similar to Alzheimer's, the same symptoms in a bee, similar to Alzheimer's in a man or in a human being. Do you know what they're also seeing? A massive buildup of mercury. Gee, what is that? Gee, I don't know. Maybe it's from the chemicals that are dispersed in the sky. I could probably bring up my photos here and show you all this. I take pictures all the time. The first thing I do when I walk outside is I take a picture of the sky, especially, well, I'm not, if there are chemtrails, I take a picture of the sky. I've got a few great pictures as well of the beautiful blue sky also. That's correct, Jamie. It's an all-out assault. Jamie says they're killing the bees and the bees are gone. We're dead. That's right. It's population control as they're trying to kill us. There's actually, gosh, there are so many things here. And on this website, they actually show videos of the chemtrails starting and stopping. They show videos. I mean, his presentations that he gives on this are absolutely amazing as well. So there are all kinds of great videos on that website to go to. I would definitely encourage you to spend hours and hours and hours there. Whilst listening to the Breakdowns interview with Dane Wigington, go ahead and go to the website and do some research there as well. Something else I was going to look for here that I totally slipped my mind to find. What was it here? Yeah, The Dimming is good. Yeah, Jamie, that's the movie. What in the World Are They Spraying is another one that's really good. Because that shows you places where they tested the water, they tested the crops, they tested the rain that was falling, they tested dew, they tested all of these things, and they all tested. And these are remote locations that don't have any air flight coverage. You're not in an airport path or anything like that. And you see that there are these actual chemicals in their crops on the ground that are affecting their children as well. Why is all of that happening? Because it's in the sky. It's in the atmosphere. It's being put there. These are not naturally occurring chemicals. Yeah, Jamie, I've seen them where they've lit up people have lit snowballs on fire and watched that because of the chemicals. That was happening a couple of years ago. We saw those videos start to surface as well. Let's see here. Oh, Jamie sent that movie to me, The Dimming. That's funny that you sent that to me, and I was heading over there. Check out that interview, Jamie, everybody out there, actually, with Dane that I did. He's a super nice guy. I'd love to have him back on. It's been, as you can see, a couple of years. And I would like to have him back on to discuss that. So here we go. Yet another one of these Quotey Fingers conspiracy theories that is being proven true, but they're gaslighting us, saying, oh, no. It's not really happening. It's not really happening. It's not really happening. But in actuality, it is really happening. And the purpose of it happening is population control. They're trying to kill you. They're trying to kill me. They're trying to kill everyone. And they're trying to reduce the population. Before the Georgia Guidestones fell, it says they wanted to reduce the population to 500 million people in perpetual balance with nature. I don't know where they get that 500 million people from. But when they do that, you do realize, I think we're over 7 billion people right now. In order to get down to 500 million people, you've got to reduce the population by 6.5 billion people. That's a whole lot of people you got to kill. That's a whole lot of people you got to kill. And as they are reducing the population, they're doing it through the government juice. They're doing it through our food. They're doing it through stratospheric aerosol injection. They're doing it through the amounts of soy that they're putting in the food. They're doing it with targeted soft kills. The amount of chemicals in the food right now, people are starting to go organic. Well, now if you go organic, you still have to question what chemicals are in your food because a lot of those are GMO. They're genetically modified organisms by Monsanto's. So the Monsanto's can have their patents on seeds so you can't grow. That's how they took over farms. There's cross-pollination that happens. So if a truck drives by and some of the kernels or something like that blows out of the truck and lands in your farm, or if the bees carry some from one of the farms to another farm, and then Monsanto comes in and says, we're going to test your land, and they find just one iota of their patented seeds or patented corn in your field, they can sue you, take your farm, and shut you down. I mean, that is some crazy stuff that's going on. Jamie says here, that is why it does not bother me anymore. I quit sending truth to people because they didn't want to hear it, so they can all hear it when they're dying. I'm not sure if I'm there yet, Jamie. I'm not sure if I'm there yet. I mean, I have reduced the amount of conversations I bring up. I've reduced the amount of discussions I've had with people. Absolutely. And the reason I did it is because typically it ends with fights. I did have a really good conversation with a family member a couple of weeks ago. Started out Second Amendment stuff, then went down to the Electoral College and went down to some other stuff. But we had a really decent conversation. It ended with a hug, which is good because we still love each other. And we still, at least I love him. And we still have the conversations. But yeah, I enjoy having the conversation. So when you find somebody of like mind that you resonate with talking about that, and then of course I come on the radio show and talk about whatever I want to, is it's my show, right? Who cares what anybody else thinks when it's my show? Me. Look right in the camera. It's my show. I say mine. It belongs to the Lord. He can use it however he wants to. But the whole purpose is to try to wake up as many as we can, first to the gospel of Jesus Christ, and then to what the crazy stuff that's going on in the world. And I do the paranormal show as well. And I do the paranormal show because I'm convinced that paranormal shows are immune to the cancel culture. How in the world can you have something like Coast to Coast AM that stays on the air that has talked about everything from 9/11 to flat Earth to extraterrestrials to hollow Earth, the Oklahoma City bombing, all the way to rock music, everything that they talk about on that show, and they've never been canceled. I'm convinced that paranormal radio is immune to cancel culture. So, well, thank you, Deb. I appreciate that. Deb says here, thank you for your show. Don't give up. I have shared every time. Thank you so much for sharing the show, Deb. And thank you for your support as well. We tell you that all the time. Really do appreciate that. And I have, to be honest with you, there have been times recently I'm just like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? I even told my daughter, my youngest daughter, she's pretty amazing. And she came at me like a day later with this little analogy, like a parable. And she was trying to help me out. So I really appreciated that. She's awesome. I love my family. And I love you all too. But yeah, I've had a couple of doubts in the past few weeks. What's the point? Am I affecting anybody? Is there anything that's changing? And there's some stuff going on behind the scenes right now with the group of folks. I don't want to give too much information around the air, on the air, because I don't want to give any private info. But there's some ministry that's happening behind the scenes right now that is precipitated because of topics that happened on this show. Bryan has had ministry opportunities with people where he's been able to share the gospel and invite them to Bible studies, and they've communicated there and talked more about Christ and the gospel because he was connected on the show. Now, I'm not saying that this is all me. The Lord can use any show out there he wants. I'm just glad to be a small part of what he's using out there. Let's see there. Jamie says, I still want to know, have you gone flat earth yet? I see how Stu Peters appears to have. I've said this on the show before, and I don't know if you've seen Jamie or not. If you go to the YouTube page, so the thing about going flat earth, okay, I have not, let me get to the page here real quick. I have said on the show and multiple times on the interviews that I've done here, if you haven't been to the show and been to the YouTube page, if you haven't, Jamie, and you haven't liked the page, I'm disappointed. I'm hurt if you haven't liked the page. So here's a page, and some of these people are going to look familiar to you. This show right here is with Dave Weiss. Flat Earth Dave. Is the Earth flat? Why it matters. This show here is Mark Sargent and the Flat Earth. This, if we go here to live videos, this show here, Josh Monday. I don't know if you've ever heard of him or not, Jamie. But this show that I did with Josh Monday was really, really good. Josh is a really good presenter. He had a really good discussion. And I really appreciated the fact that, it was it was over 2 hours, I think. Yeah. 2 hours. I only did 1 hour that I was able to do on Subspace Odyssey Radio. But we talked for 2 hours about this.
So I
you
was
should
like,
really check out that
okay, the
interview if you
Bible?
haven't
Does
yet.
the Bible relate to this?
When
Really?
you say
So
go flat
I'm
earth,
kind of the
I
same
am
thing
not
as
to the
Aaron
point
over
where
here.
I am an
Once the Bible
evangelist.
says something,
Oh, you've
I'm
watched them all. Thank you,
100%
Jamie.
no matter what. Because I
you
feel
know
like
what?
the only
I
absolute
also
truth
have
we have is
Dave
sitting on our
Weiss's app
nightstand and
on
it's
my
waiting for
phone.
us to pick up and read.
No,
And
I
it's the
appreciate
Bible.
you watching
That's
that.
it. So what the Bible says is,
supporting the show.
let God be truth.
Yeah. So Josh Monday, I had him on the show.
man
Now,
a
when people
liar,
say
okay?
go flat earth, and this is, I'm not saying you're asking me if this is what I've done, but this is how I perceive how things happen. Years ago, when I was Pentecostal, I grew up Pentecostal. After the Lord did some theological shifts to me and changed a lot of the beliefs that I had, a lot of the structures of the things that I had, I was in a stage cage. Like I had been turned on to the doctrines of grace. And then I was profoundly impacted by the recognition that God was so full of grace and kindness to save me, and I didn't deserve it. That I looked at people and I was like, how are you so stupid that you don't see the grace of God? So I was like this angry person that, was enamored with grace, but I didn't have grace in communicating that with people. And I think, maturity has caused that to change a lot. I think that there are a lot of times when people are awakened and they come to the knowledge of something, like for me, it was 9/11 back in 2006. That woke me up to everything that was going on. I was like, my goodness, this is what our government's doing to us. Then, like the OKC bombing, and then the, what else was the big event? Well, the OKC bombing, and then 9/11, et cetera. Then the bombing of the World Trade Center that happened back in 1993, Ruby Ridge, Waco. You start to wake up to all of these things. And you kind of become, I don't want to say obnoxious, and I'm not saying you're obnoxious. I became obnoxious when I found this stuff out. And then I mellowed as I started to learn, about other topics. I was going to try to show the Flat Earth app. I don't know if I can here. Hold on a second. So hold on a second here. Sorry, folks. I want to try to get this right here. I think I can. I think I almost got it. Sorry. I'm trying to contort my body to get something up off the floor. Hold on. I'm still here. You can still see my arm. Okay. So there's a lot of people who go flat earth and then they end up becoming like, evangelists just for that, right? I don't want to be an evangelist just for flat earth. I am a 51%er. Okay. That 51%er means that I don't know all the answers. There's still some things that puzzle me, still some things that I question. However, I do know that something is radically different and something is radically wrong and something is, it's not what we're being told. I'll say that. It's not what we're being told. Let's see here. I'm trying to get this up so I can show people. So as I study flat earth and as I look more into that information, when I interview Dave Weiss, I'm like an 89%er. When I interview Josh Monday, I'm like a 96%er when I watch his videos. But at this point, I'm a 51%er. I do believe something more is going on, whether or not, I don't know. I'll say that. And I hope that that's not too much of a wishy-washy answer for everybody, because that's where I find myself. I'm trying to find this here real quick. Just a second. It should be here. Trying to. Yeah, okay. We'll do that. Start virtual camera. Import. No, not that. We're going to add OBS virtual camera. I don't know why it won't. Why it shows up like this. Okay. All right. For some reason, it's not picking up. I was trying to get this to where I could show. There's that. I don't need that. I'm still here. Okay. Debbie, what do you mean you're like me when you say that? Why is it letting me do that, but not the other one? There we go. That should be right there. Huh. Interesting. It used to allow me to show my camera from my phone, but now it will not for some reason. It shows other cameras, but anyway, I'm not going to be able to show the app, and there's too much of a lull in the conversation for me to show anything. So I will stop talking about that. Does that answer your question at all, Jamie? I hope it does. Excuse me. All right, so Deb says she's a 51%er as well. And we're going to go ahead and exit this because it's bogging down my system. All right. Okay, folks. I think we're winding down. You tell me if there's anything else you want to say in the chat. We are, again, breaktradio.com. Click on the mic in the bottom right-hand corner. You can leave your sound off. This has kind of been just like a rambling session for me, kind of like a cathartic therapeutic session to get some of the stuff off my chest. And I'm glad you asked me about that, Jamie, regarding the flat Earth. As mentioned, there's a lot of stuff here. Let's read here what Jamie had to say. She says here, when I woke up, I was not living my life as a Christian, but when I woke up and saw the evil out there, I ran back into my father's arms. I was getting world truth and biblical truth. Everything I had believed in before was a lie, and I grew up in church. I believe Satan has tried to take away from God's creation. And let's see. Deb says she's a 51%er. Jamie says she... Okay, you enjoyed that. Well, good. I appreciate that, Jamie. I appreciate that very much. Just trying at this point to make sure that I don't want to push anybody away, and I also don't want to not cover truth and information because I'm trying not to push people away. Does that make sense? All right. Let's see. I don't think there's any other news stories I was going to cover here. We got the Mexico, we got the cloud seeding, large drops of hail. They got that. Wow, we did a pretty good job today getting through some of this stuff. We got through these here. I didn't get that article, but we kind of touched on that. All right, folks. Well, I'm going to skedaddle on out of here, get my Saturday started, and, my Saturday's already started, but continue my Saturday. Hopefully, will be a little bit productive. As you saw with Deb shares the show. If you haven't shared the show, please do so. Let other people know about it. You know what, Deb? I did not. I watched the one where he was on Daystar. Deb's asking if there's she said, I think what you're doing is a great way to discuss these topics. Did you watch the video I sent of Jonathan Cahn? I watched the one where he was on Daystar, but I didn't get a chance to watch the extended one that you had. There was another one that you sent me. I apologize for not getting to those, Deb. There was another one that you sent me as well. that I didn't get on. Oh, Jamie's jumping in there. Con, she said, Jonathan, false prophet. Oh, of course, be discerning when you watch that stuff. Compare it to scripture and the teachings and such. Be careful. If Jamie wants to throw in there a reason why she thinks that he is a false prophet, she's welcome to do so. And now I might have to stay on for a couple extra minutes while she does that. Okay. Let me see here. But no, I didn't get a chance to see those just yet. Okay. All right. Jamie says the Holy Spirit went nuts when I tried to watch any of his stuff. I had to turn it off. Okay. So it's kind of like your feeling. It's not checking with your spirit is what you're saying. Deb's asking that she needs to know that could be a conversation that you all have as well. If you want to send her some information on that, Jamie, I'm sure Debbie wouldn't mind. And just be careful with all the stuff that's out there. She said that she did her homework on him, found out the truth about him, whatever that is. Send it to me as well, because I'm fascinated with a lot of that stuff. There's a lot of really great stuff out there that I'd like to know. I was actually telling Deb I'd like to cover a lot more than Nephilim and their what happened at Mount Hermon. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the show today, and what they are doing to try to impact or affect the world now through AI as well and technology there. Okay. Well, hey, look, again, don't forget to share the show. Tell everybody you know about it. And make sure that you follow me, like, and subscribe on YouTube. And I'm also on TikTok. We're trying to work on a way to go TikTok live. We're not there yet. We're trying to work on a way to go TikTok live. So if you wouldn't mind, head on over there and we'll see what we can get done there. Go to breakdradio.com. If you go to the website, just a quick hit here. Let's see, breakdradio.com. Share this tab right up here. I'm going to start posting these on the main feed. This is the main feed of the show here. You go to view all episodes. It has the main show, all the episodes that we've done there. But if you go up here to the top and click on where it says Paranormal Files, you'll be able to go to the Paranormal Files show that is on Subspace Odyssey Radio. Okay. Now, I don't have that there. I'll have to fix that. Let's see. Here is the website. Anyway, so this is on Odyssey Radio. This is the Paranormal Files as well. So if you go over to Subspace Odyssey Radio, they have a lot of great paranormal shows on over there also. Here you can see the Paranormal Files, breakdown Paranormal Files. So you can go to breakdradio.com and listen to it there, or you can go to Subspace Audio and listen to it here. And this will allow you, now this isn't updated here. Okay, I'll figure something out here, figure out what's wrong with that. But I'm going to start publishing the Paranormal Files in the actual feed of the show, so you can listen to that there. I've got shows that I've done with people. If you look at the guests that we've covered, it's been fascinating. This is probably going to drive Jamie wild on some of this stuff. So Carl Gallups, oh man, Carl Gallups is awesome. He's been on 2 episodes. I want to get him back on. He's a biblical prophecy expert. Christine Price talks about how she's developed quantitative wholeness meditation. Dane Wigington, of course, we talked about here. Dave Emons has 56 years of being abducted by aliens. There's Erica when she was a guest on the show. Fritz Springmeier, this guy here. This show was one of the most downloaded shows in the history of the breakdown. He is an author and researcher, a Christian author and researcher. We text back and forth. I'm going to have him come back on the show. Joel Skousen talking about the geopolitical landscape. Joseph Jordan talking about how aliens are actually demonic spirits, are demonic entities, and how they how when you speak the name of Christ, your demonic experience or your experience stops. Maureen Inner, this was a great interview with her as well. And I interviewed her. Her husband here in this picture died of COVID, and he was let me see here. He was an LA County sheriff And when he died, they would not give her any health benefits, even though he died in the line of duty. Peter Seraphine, you all know him from Mojo 50 fame, and Rainey Hiley. This is a fascinating interview as well with Rainey. Really difficult to explain what this one's about, but she talks about your soul tribe. She's a soul tribe teacher and guide. She helps clients off their hamster wheel of repetitive living into the realm of possibility, expansion, and freedom and authentic living. Really great interview, fun. And then Susan Smith-Jones, always a joy to have on the show. She's a holistic health teacher, behavioral and transformational specialist with a holistic health expert, talks about a lot of fascinating interviews and a lot of fascinating health benefits as well. Really great stuff. So check out the Paranormal Files. Just go here, click on the guests, and just go to the guests and listen to the shows. It's really awesome. All right. We will be doing the show next week. We will have the show next Saturday, Deb. So we'll be live from 9 a.m. to 11, Lord willing. And then the following Saturday, the 20th, we're still trying to figure out if we're running a replay or if Bryan and Erica are going to do the show on their own. All right. I've rambled on enough. Thank you all so very much for hanging out with me. You have a fantastic weekend, a fantastic week. We'll see you here next Saturday. Hit me up on the socials if you'd like to, at Break T Radio on near everything. And we will talk to you then. Until next time, make Christ supremely valuable. Oh, no. Don't go crazy over that. That's just me saying I love you.